So are we talking about League of Legends or the auto chess war?
I mentioned auto chess in the show I did with Thieves, and then Doran's like, "Why the fuck would you bring up auto chess?" And I just got yelled at.
All right, never mind. Sorry.
Don't know anything about that game, mate.
Okay. It's gonna be the new big esports, Doran. It's the next Fortnite killer.
Everyone's rushing to get it out.
The joke there being that you said it's the next big esports game, and then you said it's the Fortnite killer. So it's like it seems like a non sequitur. You know, I don't really understand what that means, really. But, you know.
Both were jokes because it's not supposed to be esports, and it's not even in the same genre as Fortnite.
Well, the real irony is, though, that people don't realize that auto chess literally is what Dota was. Like, let's say, like 14 years ago or something. Like, the whole thing was when people who were CS pros and StarCraft pros or whatever the fuck else, probably Warcraft 3 back then, to be honest, when they used to be not practicing, they would be like, I'll play a few games of Dota to chill out, you know, I need to fucking calm down after all that like pro play. So I always used to tell people, like, when League of Legends got big, like, holy shit, the game that people were playing like to chill out with is the esports game. Like, what the fuck? So yeah. There's a universe in which I guess is possible, Loco. The problem is it is chess at the end of the day, and like that game is just never going to be that popular as a concept, I'm afraid.
Oh damn, there's actually a super interesting tidbit now that you mentioned that. So back when I was on MIG, the first team I was ever on, and like when we were about to get filled and when we were becoming popular, when League was becoming popular, we went around and we visited Kespa houses. So Samsung was really interested in us, KT was really interested in us, and when we visited Samsung houses, like a lot of the Samsung players came up to me and they were asking me questions about League, and I'm like, holy fuck, you're Stork, oh my god. I'm talking to Stork.
Players, yeah. Right, okay, yes. Okay.
I'm like, holy shit, you're Stork. And then he's like, is it better to take tower early? Like, what should you be maxing on Tristana? How should you be playing on the Quirky?
I mean, I assume he was just playing it in his downtime, right?
Yeah, but Stork is infamous that for like playing other games. So he played a lot of WoW, and a lot of his like up and down during his pro career had a lot to do with how much of the other games he was playing. And this was towards the later of his career, so when he was kind of having like a downturn, and it was because he was playing shit tons of League. Oh fuck, I didn't correct you on the show, but it's Vedius, not Vedius.
What does that even mean?
It's Vedius. You said Vedius, no? It's Vedius.
I mean, you can just keep saying that over and over again with no explanation if you like, but I mean, maybe that's a metaphor for how you analyse the game of League. You're like, no, actually, they did the wrong thing. It's like, what we're local, but it was wrong.
I'm telling you how his name's pronounced.
Where does that name come from?
I have no idea, but that's how he pronounces it, and that's how.
Right. So as long as you call the SK Telecom mid laner Paker, then we're perfectly fine going on with that. So I'm going to hold you to that.
Oh my god. Okay, let's just
so
start
as long as you
show.
call him Paker,
let's just start the show.
That's what he calls himself. So okay, right. This is episode 64 of ListenLoco. Assuming that's how you pronounce the name. Is it Loco? I don't know. Yeah, I know you're from Korea, so the Spanish word probably doesn't apply to you, right? Is it Locodoco?
It is Locodoco.
All right, it is Locodoco, right? Didn't know who the fuck you were. So anyway, got MarkZ here. See that? I even called him MarkZ, even though the letter is
Thank you so much. I would be so
English
triggered if you said Z. Yeah.
Exactly. So I did him a favor, called MarkZ. So got everyone on board here for another episode of ListenLoco. To be fair, right, I'm gonna ask. I haven't asked any of this before the episode, by the way, everyone. I don't know this all. I like everything to be on camera, no private talks. Mark, did Loco ask you last minute? Like, did he ask you 2 days ago or something? Or was it just like, were you the last in line? Do you think?
No, well, so he asked me 2 weeks ago, and I turned him down because I was busy. And then he asked me and I told him I would do it in 2 weeks. And then he asked me for an interview at the LCS, and I was like, why the fuck are you asking me for an interview at the LCS? I said I would do ListenLoco this week. So I actually was like, why are you trying to get me to talk about the game in an interview and then talk about the game on your show? You're just cannibalizing yourself.
I asked for Crumb's R mark, and then I guess Caitlin asked both, and then so it went to both, and then I ended up doing the interview with Crumbs.
Okay, fair enough. I just wondered because I've noticed, when my co-hosts get lazy with the people they're inviting, where it's just like,
start inviting their friends
4 times. Like, yeah, no, like, wait, it's a lot of people out there we haven't had on these shows yet.
I think
scraping the bottom of the barrel, just.
I hate complimenting Mark because Mark is fucking obnoxious, but I think Mark and Dom have been the best 2 guests.
They've been pretty good. Yeah.
So I love inviting Mark back on.
You know.
Thanks.
I mean,
I like talking.
Not a bad combo. It's not like that fucking other show you do with I Will Dominate that you're still desperately trying to make work, and basically the whole show may as well just be someone with the fucking Eminem song on in the background. You just be like, it's not the same without Thorin, is it? It's not the same. And then you're all like, hey guys, what if we have 4 of us now? Is that enough people to add up? And then the audience is like, no, it's not.
Face check
So
is
anyway,
fine.
this is the story with me. Well, the irony of calling a show face check as well, when you just try and shout that you don't even know what you're doing. I mean, we'll see how that works out for you. Anyway, good luck. I hope you get to 10 episodes maybe on that show. See who gets there first. 10 episodes for you, or me mentioning 10 times how shit the show was. We'll see who gets there first. Right, so good news, everyone. Optic Gaming is top of the LCS. TSM has a 50% win record, and Team Liquid probably dead and buried. So, new world with completely things have all changed. No, obviously, we've only had 2 weeks of LCS, and already when you describe the league, you have to basically look at the strength of schedule. The Optic team obviously didn't play all the top teams, whereas obviously Team Liquid and TSM played each other in the first match. So let's start out, Loco, with your beloved TSM. Mm-hmm. What do you think of the start of the split so far? Bearing in mind, you do have a bet that they're going to be number 1 in the league portion of this. You know, I'm just keeping you on track here. So we got to pick that win rate up, is all I'm saying.
I don't want to excuse TSM for their losses, but I do want to.
Here we go.
But I do want to excuse TSM for their losses. So in the first game they lost, their draft was actually atrocious. It was Azir into Sylas, Irelia Sejani, and was pretty much their win condition. And they have this weird, like, godforsaken love for Ezreal, which hopefully they'll drop in the future. But
it's called having Sven on your team, mate. Isn't it? He plays every split.
They have to fucking learn Ezreal's not that great in the meta. But anyway,
definitely still playing Ezreal.
They're not that good of a team, and we'll get to Golden Guardians in a bit. But
okay.
TSM's first loss to TL was just a draft loss. Like, their draft was atrocious, and they lost. And then the one they lost to FlyQuest, they should have not lost at all. Like, they got to mid-game in a pretty decent state as Sonateric, and they just botched teamfights so much. And Acadian's build on Hecarim was fucking atrocious. So every jungler in the world knows the most fucking OP defensive things to do right now is to get Ninja Tabby and get Legend Tenacity. So you have both the armor, you both have the auto attack damage reduction, and the Tenacity. For some reason, he went MarkZ into Sterix on a Sonateric comp. When you're playing Hecarim in a Sonateric comp, like, you don't fucking do that shit. You rush Trinity, you rush Warrior. It's like, you need to make sure you're doing damage, and Acadian had no idea how to build for the Sonateric comp. And also, Pyke blind was atrocious, and NA teams should stop picking Pyke if they don't know what the fuck to do with Pyke. So, yeah.
Why do it blind is the question for me. Like, it's not, I think you can play it, certainly. You see the right comps, but, like, why blind it? That's the thing I don't get.
I think they just, like, disrespected how their opponent could flex, because I think they saw Jace and they saw Lux, and they were like, there's no way the Lux goes support and the Jace goes mid.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so they just, like, I think it's complete disrespect. Like, oh yeah, there's no way they flex that when we counter pick your lane. It's like, that's the entire point of flex picks. That's why they pick them. So you can't do that. So that was, I agree, really dumb.
Do you think that they actually had guessed right? It's just that they didn't know that obviously Viper would say, well, I'll play Riven, and that was like, do you think they actually had guessed correctly it was going to be Lux mid?
Go ahead, Mark.
I couldn't believe it.
I don't know. I think into Viper, given that he plays Riven, and I'm not an expert in top lane matchups, but I can't see how Pyke is good into Riven. So, like, you're basically asking him to pick it, and then, like, they are kind of AD heavy a little then, because you have 2 AD solo lanes, but yeah, I don't know. It just seems weird. It was a weird draft.
So when I interviewed Centaurian afterwards and I asked him about the draft in that game, he said they were just laughing when they picked Pyke. They were like, holy shit, thank you so much. We're going to pick Riven into you. Riven's just going to farm and Riven's going to fucking smash your face in. And also TSM has no fucking idea, like, how to run a Sonateric comp. I feel like, why the fuck are you picking Pyke with it? Like, why the fuck is Acadian building defensive on Hecarim as a Sonateric Hecarim? It just made no sense. I think
my favorite part of that matchup though has to be the fact that, like, TSM wasn't like out of the game. There was a bunch of chances they had, but every moment when they were about like 2 minutes from like the scaling helping even more, they would just like be like, yeah, let's have the fight now.
I mean, they would like blow their Taric ult and then re-engage. Like, that's why I'm confused that Loco's like, they're still going to be a top team. It's like, so one game,
yeah, I don't get it,
they lost in draft, a couple games they've lost through decision making and team fighting incorrectly, like, but they're a great team. They're still a
I
great team.
know. I know. It's because it's almost like Mark. He's working backwards from that premise, and then just whatever he says, it makes that, at the end. And then anyway, that's why they're a great team, because they blind picked Pike, had no clue what to do with the top lane, never oppressed the top lane Riven in any way, just tried to not make Sona Tarek die. Okay, there's 1 point. You did that initially, and then as we just mentioned, every time they could have let the game breathe a bit, and it was kind of like an even game gradually heading in their favor. They were like, let's just they were doing that retard logic where you go, but if I wait, I win. But if I win now, I win earlier as well, so I can't lose. It's like, no, that's the one where you could lose. That's what you actually identified there is the one way it was possible to lose. But that's why I always tell people, Loco, I hate that logic that players use, where they say like you have to be confident that what you're going to do is work and that you're the best, otherwise you won't win. Like really, what they mean by that is, you have to believe in yourself and you have to believe that it's possible to do good things. But like that logic is what produces a game like that. It's like unnecessary hubris. I thought that game, this is why I'm kind of with Mark on this one. When I watched that game, Loco, I wasn't like, oh my God, FlyQuest is so good. FlyQuest did all right in that game, but like Team Liquid, TSM rather, had a bunch of big mistakes that made that game look so stupid.
TSM at the beginning of the split, they do it almost every single split. Like they start out pretty slow and then they'll ramp up. I think they do it on purpose to get rid of all the bandwagon fans. So they'll be fine. On a serious note, they do start out the split slow almost every single fucking split, if I remember. Even when I was coaching, I remember.
Well, to be fair, they did. Obviously, they went to MSI and then they came home and wait, no, they didn't. My mistake. They have no excuses whatsoever, except for all the ones you tried to make.
They are trying to use two junglers and figure out which one's better. So like a slight regression from spring.
Yeah. I'll believe that when I actually see one of those players. I've already mentioned this rant on another episode, but like I'm so done with people telling me that like they have 10-man rosters and you're going to use all our subs, and then you don't. Like you're going to use them. Otherwise, I don't need to know that you do that.
Wait, they actually go ahead, Mark.
I think they actually have said that they're not really like a 6-man roster. They're just deciding their fifth position. It's like more of a depth chart battle than it is like an actual like substitution system, from what I understand of it.
Yeah, they definitely didn't claim they're running a 10-man. And Bjergsen also said in my interview that he wants to work with one jungler. He does not like working with multiple junglers. And it's not like Acadian and Grig are going back to Academy. They're full-time scrimming with the team, and they're full-time just watching behind. They have a different jungler in Spica in Academy. It will be, at the end of the split, TSM will have 5 starting players. They will not have a 6.
So basically, whoever doesn't get the jungle position just lost his job completely.
I'm sure they'll get sold. I'm sure like if Acadian or Grig, like if one of them was on the market, like teams like 100 Thieves would definitely take a look. I'm sure like teams will take a look.
Mark, come on. Give me your thoughts overall on TSM, not just this game. What do you think?
I think they're underperforming right now. Like, if you ask me if they're going to make Worlds as a bet, like, I would probably still take that bet, But I think I'm disappointed in what I've seen so far. I liked Acadian a lot in spring because it was, like, the first time in, like, 2 years I felt like TSM was really aggressive. And, like, a lot of talk after MSI was, like, okay, you can't focus on 90-10 plays. You need to take the 60-40s and like go for those kind of more aggressive plays. And I feel like Acadian was always that kind of player. And he's also a very like confidence-driven player from what I know of him because I've worked with him a little bit. Like he can get in his own head, and I feel like a depth chart battle is exactly the kind of thing that's gonna fuck him up mentally. Where like if he has a bad game on Hecarim and then Grig has a good game on Hecarim, Acadian feels like the kind of guy who'll go down into a downward spiral from that kind of outcome. And so it's one of those things where I feel like what they've set up is supposed to be like an equal battle but for both people to get a chance. But like from Acadian's perspective, it's like I'm losing my starting position, and from Grig's perspective, like I'm getting it. So like I think it feels worse for Acadian, and I think that is he's gonna eventually lose the spot. And so like I feel a little sad from the perspective like I liked what I saw a lot in spring. I don't think they necessarily peaked in spring. If they just ran 5 strong the whole time, maybe they'd actually be a better team than giving Grig his shot. But like they're giving Grig his shot and Grig's performing better now, so then we'll see him again. But like I wasn't in love with Grig when I saw him in 2018, I guess, when he subbed in for Mike Young. So I don't know, the whole thing has me feeling cooler on TSM as a whole.
Acadian is 0-2 and Grig is 2-0.
Look at their opponents though, FlyQuest and
exactly.
Team Liquid, and then Clutch Gaming and 100 Thieves. It's like
that's bogus. Come on.
What are you supposed to say about that?
It is bogus, but we talked about Acadian being a confidence player, and that has to weigh on his mind. I'm two losses.
The sad
Greg
thing
has 2
is,
wins.
I would imagine, believe it or not, to us, we might be able to say, well, that strength of schedule is the key aspect there. But I actually bet for players, unfortunately, in their minds, when they win, they're like, oh, I trust this guy. They have that logic that goes out. So actually, that probably does matter to TSM as a team. The real question is who gets what game next. Like, if they give Acadian like Cloud9 in the next match, then that is unreasonable. And at that point, I know at that point it's like, is someone just trying to make me lose my job in this team? Am I being sabotaged here? Is Greg secretly Reggie's son? Mathematically impossible for anyone who's wondering, unless he was like 12 at the time.
It's the Beard bros, Beard and Greg.
That's also actually. Here's the thing, though. I will say this, Loco. The way that TSM has drafted and played so far at LCS, as a team, they might actually be better suited to Greg. Like, they haven't done any of the comps that was helping Acadian with all that aggressive style in the spring. Like, think of how many times now they've picked the scaling comp.
Well, the most meta junglers right now, I would say, is Sejuani, and then Jarvan, and then Skarner. When I think Sejuani, Jarvan, Skarner, I probably lean way more to Greg than I do to Acadian. I think Acadian really made his name on Rek'Sai, and Rek'Sai isn't as part of the meta as she used to be. And then the other champion would be Jarvan. And then when I think Acadian Jarvan, I think some atrocious pathing he had in the past. It did get better, but yeah, I just don't feel that confident.
That's how you know Loco was talking about an NA jungler there, because magically there was no Gragas. He pretended like Rek'Sai wasn't a meta champion at the moment. He didn't bother mentioning Lee Sin as a champion that will always exist in League of Legends. Like, come on, man. It's a massive champion pool for jungle.
There is.
You're watching TSM games, so you think there's 3, I know.
No, Sejuani.
I know that you still think that.
Sejuani is beyond top tier right now. There are some EU teams that are running like Sejuani, Camille, and so are some Korean teams, and I would imagine NA teams also pick that up. But Sejuani, Camille as a duo is just so fucking insane right now.
Yeah, but like you can play Sejuani Aurelia, you can play like Akali, you can play Silas, you can play these like the flex picks that people were playing, but to Thorin's point, like now they're playing Zillion. That wasn't exactly what, like when they were at their best, I would say in playoffs was when they were being the best team in NA at the flex picks with Acadian supporting that. And even though his pool has changed, I don't see why the solo laners pool has had to change as much.
No, of course. And plus, like, it's not even like they pick all that. Like, where's TSM's priority for Silas? There's their priority for Akali, really. They're not even trying to play through the solos in that way, Loco. So that's what I mean. I think there's the 2 ways I can see this. One, that I'm going to speculate that either means in scrims it didn't work playing the way they did in spring, so they changed it. Or 2, I'm not even sure if this is better or worse. They're doing that thing that teams do where when they were really good at one style of play, you try out the other for a little bit because you want to see, like, can we be a little bit more versatile here? And then as you saw at the end of the split when Team Liquid tried that, it doesn't always work. And then you revert back to what you're doing. So, like, I definitely think it's curious the way they've started the first few weeks off. Because if they really, like, put it this way, if this really was just experimentation or testing out the junglers, fair enough, that's fine. If this actually is what they think is the best thing for their team right now, then I would be concerned for TSM personally. This isn't a great look.
I do think TSM has a minor identity crisis with the jungler swapping and as the solo lane picks you guys have been talking about. But one thing I'm actually shocked by is Broken Blade. He's like not bad, but he's not impressive. When I think Broken Blade, I always thought of him, or I didn't always think of him, but at the end of summer, I thought of him as the second best player on TSM after Bjergsen. I thought he was clearly the second best player, and he's been really lackluster the first 2 weeks, so that's where I'm actually really scared. I thought, yeah, he would develop a lot more in summer.
I think it's the jungle focus is kind of taking away from people talking about the rest of TSM very like a ton, because Broken Blade was on par with Licorice and had a better series than him in playoffs, so like people were ready to start putting him in like top 2, number 1 maybe even, and now he's kind of a non-factor in every game he's in. Like I can't think of a great game he's had.
I have to say though, if you look generally, like I actually think in general, like the top lane has changed so much for MSI. Like, first of all, you see a lot of picks, obviously, that were not being played at MSI at all on the other patch. But then even worse, like if you look at the game now, you don't have a massive laning phase. Like there is no, you can't just like 24/7 gank top lane, because like there's literally like squads of people roaming the map at like 14 minutes in some of these games. Like some of these games stop being like a normal lane game way earlier than you expect.
I guess, but like I still look at Licorice and I'm like, oh, he's the same guy he was in spring. Top
Sure.
two top laner. He's going out. Even when he gets solo killed by Viper, he roams and kills the jungler, roams and kills mid lane.
They don't tend to play that hard around him though.
Yeah, I mean they're not fatty camping his lane, but like he's still having a positive influence. He's still playing Aatrox, like these kind of OP kind of carry top laners.
Sure.
And then we're getting like Kennen for and Pike for Broken Blade, which are not like very strong laners. I guess Kennen's okay, but it's not like, I don't know. It's just not the same stuff that we were seeing before.
I can name like 4 top laners that are performing better than him right now. Solo,
Yeah.
Viper, Licorice, Impact. He's like 5th or 6th, or maybe 5th or 4th if you want to give
Maybe
it.
even Haunter.
Yeah, Haunter. Yeah, he like Broken Blade
Unfair.
used to be 1 or 2. We used to talk about him as 1 or 2. Now we're talking about it as 5 or 6. I know it's only been 2 weeks, but that's the part that worries me way more so than like some of the picks and the jungler stuff.
And the jungler stuff kind of factors into it because spring their playstyle was like send a Cadian top. And that's what they did for like the vast majority of their games. And now it's like, okay, well, it's this zillion Sonateric comp where you need to play around the Sonateric so they don't get run over in the early game, and then you're team fighting. And like, I don't know when Broken Blade was supposed to get his resources in some of these games to like try and smash lane. So like, it is all tied together, but I think the whole team has kind of been underwhelming, and it's hard to put it all in the jungler because it's so pervasive.
Sure.
Hopefully he's not a one-split wonder, because TSM invested very heavily into him, and it's really cool that a Turkish import is performing well. But yeah, oof.
Well, the problem is, Loco, here's the big problem you have right now, is
What?
your assumption was actually a flawed assumption, which was, right, well, if he played that well in his first split and he was a rookie and he's going to improve for summer and then he'll be even better, it's like, yeah, it could be. That's obviously one option that can happen, but the option you never considered is, what if that was his meta? What if they were playing around in the right way? What if now he'll be worse? And the point is, if he's worse, I would agree with you, by the way. In the spring split, he probably was the second best player. It was Bjergsen and him, basically, because obviously they had all those issues getting the rest of the players integrated into the team. So, like, I would say going forwards, like, I don't think he's going to be crap. I'm assuming he'll still be at least an average top laner, but an average top player on this team wouldn't make them that sick a team, I don't think. I don't think they're going to win the split off that.
Yep.
So I do think he was necessary.
All right. Do you want to segue us into another team?
Well, the good thing is all the top teams obviously have whack records, because Cloud9, Team Liquid, and TSM have all lost a whole bunch of games. So we can actually talk about these teams without just making it like who's the best or whatever. So let's talk about Cloud9 then. Obviously the team that lost to Golden Guardians had some problems of their own. These things did happen. Come on then, Mark.
You're
You
muted.
mute yourself.
You're muted, by the way.
Ah, fuck! I keep coughing,
go.
so I keep muting.
It's all right.
I'm an idiot. They're the only team where I'm like, fuck it, they're fine. I don't really care about that loss. Like, I'm a little concerned with Team Liquid, but they have Impact, who always underperforms. There's like TL I really don't care about, but it is sad to see them not smashing like G2. But C9 is still the summer team or the spring team that they were. Svenskaren's popping off really hard. Licorice is still a god. Their bot lane's fine. Niski's still good. They lost one game because Niski was an idiot and like went for a sick Azir sec play instead of just focusing on the Baron. It happens. It's a regular season. People make mistakes. So like for me, I don't give a shit about this. Like they're still going to be like the way I'm doubting TSM a little bit going to Worlds. C9, I'm like they're still going to Worlds for sure.
I mean, they're the best Sonateric team, and also they're very like fast to catch on to meta. Like they're the first team to play Camille. I hate their obsession with Azir. I know Reaper loves Azir. He was also one of the people defending Faker's Azir. Like it was like you buy Ludens instead of Nashor's, and then Azir's fine and he's better early game. And then my counter argument to that is always, if you want a better early game, actually pick another mid laner. Why are you trying to make Azir an early game champion? There's mid lane champions that are good in early game. They really look cohesive as a team, and yeah, I agree with Mark a lot. Like the game they lost to GGS, I actually thought the draft was done, boss. So just stop giving GGS Tom Kench, please. And yeah, Licorice, Sven, really good. Like, yeah.
Wait a minute. Even though I know what you mean, like in that particular case, I don't lie. If I was the opposing coach, I definitely wouldn't give Ole Tom Kench until he's proven he can be really good on some other stuff. But the problem with that, Loco, is That's like the same logic you were using last year. Like, why are you letting Froggen have Karthus, man? Ban it. It's like no one else plays it fucking mid lane. What are you talking about? It's a jungle champion.
Okay, so
it's the same thing. Like, why aren't they banning Anivia? It's like no one plays Anivia. You, in theory, want them to pick shit like that because it's not OP. That's why no one plays it. They just particularly specialize in those champs. So, like, I know what you mean, but like, you have to. It's not like the stuff they banned was stupid. Like, everything they banned was a powerful pick. You know,
I'm gonna fight.
You have to make your choice somewhere. Come on,
I'm gonna fight this one. So I do think targeting Froggen is really weird because Froggen can do his role on a bunch of different champions. He can play Anivia, he can play Victor, he can play Karthus, he can play Vel'Koz. He can be that backline mega hyper team fighting carry. And GGS's core is we have Deathly and Froggen playing immobile champions. Tahm Kench is good in lane. Tahm Kench will help us with laning. And then when it gets to team fight, Tahm Kench synergizes really well with the champions that Deathly and Froggen is playing. There is no replacement for Tahm Kench. It's dumb to ban Froggen because there is replacement for the champions he's having. And his level is not going to drop if he's forced off of Anivia. But for Ole, his level will drop if you ban him off of Tahm Kench. So I feel like it makes no sense to not ban.
Give me an example then. Which ban would you have given up in that game? So in that game, they banned Aurelia, Ryze, Aatrox, Rumble, and Jace. So basically all top and mid champs. So what would you have
it would have to be like one of the first three, like
I get rid of Aurelia. Aatrox I think is too strong, and I think like Aurelia, they played it that one game, and
that was the first game, yeah.
Yeah, they won with it, but it's still the furthest from like their desired play style. So I'd be like, all right, take the Aurelia and beat us with it. Like to his point about Ole, he is like borderline best support in the league on Tahm Kench. Like he's disgustingly good.
He's amazing at saving people. I will give him credit for that.
Yeah, but then you put him on something else and he looks horrible sometimes. So the one loss they have, they took him off Tahm Kench and their bot lane got obliterated that game. And I think, yeah, it's true that like you're gonna give up a power pick, but like this is one of the things that annoys me based off like what we learned about MSI is like play your meta, play what's good for you. Dokla plays Poppy. Fucking ban Poppy. I don't care like if you're giving him a power pick because Poppy is his power pick. The same way like Ole's power pick is the Tahm Kench. Yes, Aurelia is also a power pick, but like you need to raise when you're playing Golden Guardians at least. That
I'll give you that one. Actually. I agree. Whatever you would probably give up of those 5 bans there. Like, even if, like, okay, so Froggen did do pretty well on that Aurelia. It wasn't like he carried the whole game, but even then, I would rather have him forced to pick that rather than his Anivia in this game. So I guess maybe that actually might have killed 2 birds with 1 stone, as it were.
And Ole is not a new Tahm Kench player. Even in spring, I'm pretty sure Tahm Kench was his most played and his highest win rate support, like, by far. So
his career win rate on Tahm Kench, I think, is 17-4, and since Golden Guardians, it's like 7-4. So, like, he does lose a little bit more on it since he's joined Golden Guardians, but like you got to get him off of it because his win rate otherwise is low.
4 games, He's played every game except the loss.
Yep. So it's like maybe that's a little bit of confirmation bias. Like, look, if you ban it, they lose. But like at the same time, he does look like a different player on Tahm Kench.
If we're speaking more on Golden Guardians, like some of their drafts are so whack. I think their Saturday draft, they pick like Sejuani with 4 range champions, and then I watched like in my interview, Contracts talked about their draft being kind of int. Deathly talked about their draft being kind of int on Travis' interview. Like a lot of players like spoke up. Like that draft was so fucking bad. They're a team that like is very. I would say they're the team that's most draft dependent in the entire league. Depending on what kind of draft they have, like they can be a really strong team or a really weak team. And they're the team where you will win a lot of your games off the draft and you will lose to Golden Guardians in the draft by giving them certain tools.
I think I kind of agree with what you're saying. I would argue CLG is more draft dependent, but not like what you play. Like CLG just feels like they destroy themselves, whereas I feel like you can destroy Golden Guardians by being smart because like, okay, take away the Tahm Kench, do some other things. Like I don't know why CLG sometimes drafts the way they draft, whereas like Golden Guardians is like there's a lot of good bans against them or something.
Yo, Duncan, before we jump on to other teams, let's finish off the top 3. What do you think of TL and like how do you think of their kind of like middling start?
I kind of agree a little bit with Mark. Like I'm not too worried about it. Like it's definitely not good to lose to CLG. That's not a team that I've it's not like that shows that CLG is some top team. They haven't looked that good themselves, to be honest. So I'm not sure actually on this one, because one thing I do like that they've done so far is that it does look like they were trying to carry over what they had at MSI and actually make Jensen more of a carry and give him the power picks, etc. So like I like that aspect. They just haven't really been able to execute it very well in the actual games. I don't know. I think they've kind of got like a little hangover, but I think they're fine still.
As Team Liquid, I feel like it would be really hard to put in the same kind of effort that you did at MSI in summer, especially early in summer. Like you get back from like competing against these international teams and you come to NA and then you're like, what, like where are we? Like what the fuck are we doing? Their early game still looks strong, carrying over a lot of their MSI performance and what they learned in MSI. It's their mid game where they're actually making a lot of the mistakes.
I think it kind of has to do with the fact that like you'll always be a great player. Like Doublelift is certainly not going to lose laning phase to these other people in North America. But if you're like 100% crisp on your communication, you're really proactively looking to end the game, that's probably where the rust shows the fastest. Is just like, oh, you guys are out of practice and like you don't have any pressure behind you right now to perform because you know you're great. You've won 3 championships in a row. You made finals at MSI. Like, how can you get yourself up for these games? It's still disappointing because you see G2, performing in their region, but at the same time, Impact is always such a bum in regular season, and he's not even being too much of a bum right now. But like the amount of times that's been like, is Impact only a tank player? Does he suck? And then like playoffs roll around, it's like, oh, he's playing Kennen, and he's like okay on Silas all of a sudden, and like it's got GP out of nowhere. It's like I never worry about him long term, and that's kind of how this whole team feels. Is like, I get it.
They also did look mad sloppy in that CLG game. Like, how disrespectful was it where Jensen with like half health was walking down to the river and then Wiggly was able to just flash over and get him with the Sejuani? Like, why you were? They were up in that point in the game. I think they were like up 4 kills to 2 or something. Silas had 2 of the kills on him. It's like, what's the necessity of that? Like, why you weren't even going to engage the fight? So why are you walking down in that scenario?
So think of this as like the pathing that Xmithy could have ran. Like he was running here and he could have kept running straight, but he took a curve and then he walked left.
Yeah, he just left it for dead biscuit.
He left and like they put themselves in such a weird spot to be able to get engaged. That was the dumbest fucking mistake. And speaking about like comparison between TL and G2, I feel like it's a little bit about NA in Europe, but in Perks on Euphoria, he talked about how much G2 loves the game. Like all 5 players, they love playing solo queue. Like even on their off days, like they're playing solo queue. It's not a diss at TL, but TL players like doing other stuff, like infamously like the Coachella stuff, like playing auto chess, like playing other games. Like I don't think there's inherently anything wrong with like pro players spending their time, especially early in the season, having a better balance and like doing other shit. Fun. But for G2, from what Parkta says, when they got back, like they were doing solo queue in their off time, like in their vacation time. I'm pretty sure TL wasn't.
No, but the thing is, I think you actually framed it right there. You just didn't say the other side as well, which is like, that's just something to praise G2 for. I don't diss Team Liquid for that. I think you're right, actually, especially if I'm like, I've just been on my best international result ever. I'm probably going to go to Worlds anyway, but I want to ramp up as the season goes on. I don't want to put like 1,000% effort in on week 1. The difference is, that's, to me, what you're describing with G2 is that means G2's on some like Kobe Bryant shit. They just like to play even more and they want to get even better and they're just pursuing greatness, which is amazing. But you got to have a very special group of people before they're going to want to do that. Like I bet there might be one player on Team Liquid who does that. But the point is, I doubt all 5 do. I mean, think about how old in the game Impact and fucking Doublelift are. These guys have been playing forever.
That's what I was gonna say. Is a lot of Team Liquid is older than G2. Like Smithy's old as shit. Doublelift,
and even in the game context.
Yeah, I mean, he's my age, but it's old as shit. They've been around since most of these guys since season 1 and 2, whereas respectively for a lot of G2 guys, it's like season 4-ish when they really started showing up. And like on top of the fact that they're just younger and probably more driven, they like Thorin saying actually have a crazy drive. Like, I can't tell if it's an act or not, but Cap sounds like a fucking robot when he talks about like things outside the game where it's like, what is the sun? I've never seen it. Like he has these kinds of responses where you don't think he's human. And like, that's the kind of stuff you would see from the most dominant teams of all time. Like the Samsung whites and blues, the SKTs, where like their players are like, oh yeah, I sleep 4 hours a night. And so like, that is a skill in and of itself, is how hard you can grind. And they seem like one of the best Western teams ever at that. Probably the best.
Sure. And then you've also got to look at some of their players. Like, remember, Loco, someone like Wonder, he hadn't fucking won anything until this split. Like, he's still a pretty... I know he's played for a couple of years, but he was never super duper as good as he is now and on the best team. And then Perks, obviously, he's role swapped, so that gives him insane motivation to want to practice a lot. Caps is winning everything. Like, there's everyone on the team has amazing...
Fnatic. Like he wants to prove Fnatic that like fuck you guys, I made the right decision. So all of them have so much motivation.
And then like obviously everyone knows Jankos' story is he was always caught at the semis all the time. He'd never won himself. So like they've got a perfect storm at the moment of everyone having the right motivations and being in prime form pretty much as well. Like that'll also make it way more fun to play when everything's just going amazingly. Everything works in the game. So anyway, switching back on the Team Liquid side, like I'm not making any excuses for their losses. Like that loss was absolutely trash against CLG. They deserved to lose, but I also do think you will see a gradually better and better Team Liquid over the next few. You're probably right for TSM as well, which don't know on that one because there's a few more question marks on that, I think.
Yeah, TLC9, I think we can be very secure. Like those two teams will do extremely well, and like would be pretty shocked if I had to pick world favorites right now, like out of the teams in NA, who are the two teams most likely to go to Worlds, I'll probably pick TLC9. If I had to pick a third, I'll pick TSM, but I'm not sure about TSM. Where TLC9, I'm like these two going to Worlds.
They also, if you just look, because of their rosters, like they don't need every player to be on fire every week. Like they have such good teams overall. They can get wins on weeks where someone underperforms. The problem with the TSM example like we gave before is at least in the spring, it was so defined what the win conditions were. So if those players aren't playing as well, it's going to be way harder to win the game. Right? What about...
Let's go to a shitter team.
Reasonable. Well, actually, no. Let's do one that's not a shitter team that used to be a shitter team.
Optic?
How the fuck has Clutch Gaming resurrected from the dead? Even Huni actually can now play League of Legends again.
He can play Rumble.
Listen, that's an upgrade, mate. That's an advance.
Apparently, that's all you need to do. You can play Tom Kench, you can play Poppy, you can play Rumble. Pick one champ and learn it. And apparently, people don't ban it.
I think two teams this offseason did subtraction or addition by subtraction, and I think the two teams are Clutch Gaming and CLG. By taking away certain members from their roster, they actually upgraded. Like,
don't you want to put Optic in there? They took Dardark out and they're top 4, they're number 1. You don't want to put Optic on that list?
Optic, I think, just figured out their shit more. But for Clutch and CLG, I think like them taking out Darshan and them taking out Piglet did wonders for their roster. Like, it's not that their replacements aren't like doing well, it's they got better by taking out players. I think they actively got better by taking out Piglet.
I mean, to be fair, Darshan was like playing 4 versus 6, so I'll give you that one. Like, he's just not hurting the team anymore, Loco. You're right, Ruin doesn't know how to destroy a team in the way that Darshan could. But I think you might have gone a bit too far on that one. Like, come on.
Wait, okay, let's start with Clutch. You don't think Clutch is just actively better by having Piglet out and the team just being more, like, together?
I think, I mean, like, I agree that, like, a lot of these are good, like, style changes for them, but I also think a lot of these are just upgrades that you're talking about. Like
Cody Fenn over Piglet. You think that's a straight upgrade?
I think it's a straight upgrade. Like, here's the thing, Cody
can speak English for start off.
For sure, and like
Piglet actually kind of bit now. To be fair, I'll give him that.
Yeah, Piglet's mostly fine in terms of understanding the game, but like he's such an aggressive player, and like for whatever reason that has not translated for like 3 years. It's just time to accept it. Whereas Cody, every time he has played, has made top 4. So like just using results.
Oh my god, you're a Cody Sun lover.
I'm not. He performs. What do you want? He's always highest in like DPM. Always has like the most kills in the league. He's not lane dominant. He never tries to be lane dominant. He's just a backline AD carry who's good at his job. And I think Piglet kills himself and throws half the games. So like, I think Cody's a better marksman player than Piglet. Piglet can play all the melee shit he wants and probably shit on Cody's son. But if you have a marksman in the bot lane, I would want Cody over Piglet. On top of the fact that you have Huni, Demonte, and Lyra, which is like, this is where I agree about the style part. Like, yeah, pick someone who's just going to bitch out laning phase and send your resources somewhere else, and then he'll be a good team fighter later. So like, I think it's a good style change. And whatever was wrong with Cody on 100 Thieves, like I can't speak to, I don't know what he did to get himself benched. Maybe he's the biggest piece of shit teammate in the world, but on the Rift, I think he's better than Piglet. On top of the fact that it's better for the team.
I can agree with you, like Cody's better than Piglet in some ways, but there are ways where Piglet is better than Cody too. I don't think it's like a straight upgrade. I think it was like a side grade, or even let's say I'll
Well,
give
it's
you
not good
slight
for
upgrade.
Clutch Gaming. That's the point.
Yeah.
Maybe it wouldn't be for another team. I'd agree on that.
If you had 0 threats, like maybe you want Piglet just to create pressure on his own somehow. Maybe that's the only time I'd want Piglet over Cody if I had no threats anywhere else on the map. But yeah, especially for Clutch.
Damn. Oh, Cody. For Clutch though, the whole we're together as a team now, I think is really big. When I interviewed Demonte, he talked so much about like Lyra and Huni being more motivated again, and him saying it feels like my team again. It feels like I get along with everyone gets along with each other, and yeah, I mean, I think their mood and how they're working as a team is a lot better.
Yeah, I think
it does help also when you can get kills on Huni early, and then he can actually do something in the game. That helps.
I'll be curious.
A lot in spring.
Yeah, I mean, Huni's playing a lot better, but I feel like he's always been a great Rumble, and they're just like, you're playing Rumble, and then they're like, all right, Lyra, you can't play Lee Sin, you're playing simpler champions. My question is like, what this team will look like once teams start adapting to them in the draft, because at this point, it's like, I know I need to ban that from Huni. And what else does he have? And if I ban out some of the like the more simple point and click type junglers like a Sejuani and Jarvan, what is Lyra going to look like? So I like what I've seen out of Clutch, but I'm not quite ready to bet on them like making playoffs or something, though I like what I've seen so far.
I think
they also didn't exactly have like the most insane strength of schedule themselves. Like their best win's basically the one over GGS, right?
Yeah. I mean, when they play stuff like Rumble with Lee Sin, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing with your draft? Like, just pick Jarvan. Like, why the fuck are you picking Lee over Jarvan when you have Rumble? Like, some of the decision this team makes is still incredibly fucking stupid, but they do look better than last split.
Well, if you want to talk about a shitter team, we just touched on them briefly. 100 Thieves.
Ooh.
Now this is outrageous because we even said, I even still originally stand by my premise before of like the reason I didn't think this team would literally be a bottom dweller again. I thought they'd be like, borderline playoff team. Is because you think to yourself, a whole bunch of these people on paper in name value were great players, were even very good LCS players at one point, even like a year ago. So you think surely all of them can't still have problems, but that's exactly where we were wrong. They apparently can. My mistake. They can all still have problems. Like I would have said, like I've said, I thought the person most likely to come back online was obviously Sunday, right? That's the same Sunday who, while playing on-hit Nico, was like losing in a 1v1 side lane to a Rumble. Like that's game over right there. Like what's there to hope for?
That gank top too, because he ran through a war and they took the 2v2 still and just got
that was mental, wasn't it? Like he misplayed that so badly, and for such a veteran player, that was such a bizarre play.
Jarvan and Nico are both more early game oriented than Rumble and Skarner, and they somehow still lost the 2v2.
Yeah.
With full vision.
It's so weird. Like I was in the Thorin camp of like, all right, like amazing. I forget which team it was on Europe. Was it Splice that
Schalke.
He was on
took them to finals.
Yeah, and like he helped them out, and I was like, okay, if you can have any sort of similar influence here, there's so much name value or like power in their names, and then it's just completely not worked. And like he seems to be the only passionate one based off his Twitter, based off the heist where he's like talking all the time. Like I like when I see Amazing fucking tilted that they lost, because so much of what sucked about watching 100 Thieves the last year almost is like just the indifference. Like they just don't seem like they give a shit. And then like to see Someday have that bad performance, to see the bot lane not working well, it's just like fucking just put in 100 Thieves Academy at this point. Like I don't know. Wow. I'm so done with this.
That is what they might be doing. Bang played in Academy. Afterwards playing in Academy today. Like they're switching up a lot of things. So I'm pretty curious what we're gonna see on Saturday and Sunday.
Imagine being Bang, right? You were literally a 2-time world champion. You have one bad year. And actually, he of all the players on their team, I wouldn't have said he was the worst on that SK Telecom. He had some problems in the spring, but he was still all right. So then you think, right, well, whatever. I'll do what all the others did. I'll go get my victory lap and get that big check in NA. What's that? I now play an academy. And my coach is literally Kelsey Moser, who used to be on that fucking talk show with that Thorin guy who said I was shit for years. Like, what have I become? Now, all I can say in that scenario is it's just a fucking shame we can't fly Wolf in and have them just reunited again. That would be amazing, being coached by Kelsey Moser of all people as well. Like, I must just want to laugh in his face if I didn't actually genuinely feel bad for the guy. Like, he doesn't deserve this. He didn't even do anything wrong in 100 Thieves.
You know what's
He's just in a team that he can't have a chance to win in at all.
You know what's crazy? 100 Thieves are so fucking successful in every other avenue but League. They're so fucking successful in every other avenue but League.
Even in League, they're not that bad. They showed the infographic
Fourth.
of like team pass sales. They're fourth, so they're still a popular team. If they could just put any sort of success onto the actual game, like then people would love them still. But like they are the most hated, unsuccessful team I think I've ever seen. Like any post game thread doesn't matter. It's just like kill Afro, kill Prawley, burn the organization to the ground. Like I've never seen so much hate for a team, and I feel like that is also contributing to like the overall mindset of the team. Is like there's been bad teams before. There's been like velocities. There's been absolutely trash teams, but they get memed.
No, those teams don't have expectations. 100 Thieves has expectations. That's the problem.
Right, they have expectations, and people don't meme them when they lose. It's not the monkey knife fight gifts. It's like spam this fire to fire Afro. I forget what the fucking meme is.
Spam this fire to make Afro retire. That's the
it's
Twitch
like
meme.
It's really mean spirited shit. Not like haha you guys.
Not even just leave the team. He has to actually never play League of Legends again.
Dude, that is a sign of people caring. Like the worst thing you have as like a content creator or as a team or as an entertainment is ignorance. When you lose, if people don't give a shit, that's actually fucking bad.
Oh no, I'll tell you the worst one. The worst one, Loco, is apathy. Remember how CLG fans were when they used to just be like, haha, lol, guess we just get fucked again by everyone. Oh well, guys, like, you know, it's worse that way. They just give up. I agree, actually, in a mad way. It shows that the fan base at least still think they should be good. Even if I would agree, actually, if you, the thing that kills me is I don't get, like, unless they're all some god tier method actors, most of those players look so jaded by all the losses and how badly the lineup's gone. And then the fact that, like, even if you bring Amazing in, you are still using the academy mid laner. Like, it's hard to really have confidence that things are going to turn around if you're in this team. And I don't think they do. They look like they just turn up. It's their job. They do their job. They try to play the game. We lost again. Oh, well, try again tomorrow. It's like, I have to say, on that area, probably looks like he has failed as like someone in terms of like managing the personalities and the emotions. I don't think he's doing a good job in that respect, as far as I can tell.
It's also like the downward trajectory, because it wasn't like they just had high expectations out of nowhere. There's a reason there were high expectations. They were good, and then Meteos leaves, and then they have all this international stuff at the Rift Rivals where they don't seem like they care, and then Cody's bench for Rikara out of nowhere, and we're not getting any PR statement. And then they bring Bang in, so you're like, all right, well, at least expectations are high again. We should be a top 3 team, and then they suck. And so, like, I understand why fans are pissed off, but, like, I think this is still the angriest fan group I've ever seen in NA, which is in combination with the players probably having their own high expectations, why you see this kind of, like, jaded, lifeless look to them, where, like, they can't even enjoy the game because they're just probably getting hated on by everyone, including internally.
Yeah, just
it's painful, dude. It's just one of those things where it's like, I feel like we're supposed to like point blame at people, like Afro's not playing well and this is going wrong, but it's just like
almost everything's going wrong, mate. There's not a lot going right. Like even when I say Bang didn't do that much wrong, that's just because he was never in position as an AD carry or actually fucking carry a game. So to be fair, like it's not great, but then again, that probably shouldn't be a non-lane dominant fucking AD carry in a team like this, should you? Like, you know.
I was watching some play where they were diving double lift and like Afro kind of baited the flash out and like Bang didn't throw his boomerang at the right time because he waited till Zaya was ulted as opposed to wait till Zaya comes down for the next part of Afro CC. Like, but these, like, when you start breaking plays down on that level, it's like that's not why they're losing.
Sure.
Like that's why that play went bad. But like it's just so lifeless, you know. Like the
probably is a symptom of like bad chemistry between the two players though. And they have played a whole split, so like I have to say right now, I can't even 100% blame 100 Thieves for this split because I think they already fucked up the team with the spring one, unfortunately. Like I was trying to think through. Dude, I'm exaggerating, except if you were really, really ballsy and you'd gone and bought one of those, like, you know, like academy level EU mid laners, where some of them eventually inevitably will become good players, but you would be making a massive gamble, you know, player who's never even played an LEC. You're going to bring him to LCS and put him on a team, and you're going to put him on a losing team. Like that would be a big move. Yeah. If you don't do that though, who is there? Like, remember, you can't even get Phoenix. He's not actually technically NA resident yet. Like, there's nobody available for mid lane. That's the problem. They're up shit's creek completely.
Well, and like, if you do bring in one of those young European guys, like maybe they're not fully developed yet, and you just stunt their growth because they just.
You could ruin them completely.
This is such a dangerous environment to put a new rookie mid like holy fuck, if they don't do well, yikes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even exaggerating with the way that it's looking at the moment. If they go through another bad split with this team, and it's a team that doesn't even look like they're going to make playoffs, I would literally just burn nearly all of it down. I would figure out who doesn't have the heart for it, who doesn't want to play anymore, who just isn't good anymore, and I would really be saying, like, we're maybe picking like one player and going to next year. We're starting fresh, because this group is just, it's either crap completely or it's crap together. Whichever one it is, you got to sort it though.
Yeah.
As if it only took 2 weeks to just immediately kill any possibility of this team. Because here's the thing, everyone will want to say, like, but look at Echo Fox, you know, they were on like a terrible slide and they turned it around. It's like, they at least had some elements to them that looked half decent, though. 100 Thieves has basically struggled the whole time with this lineup.
Right, and I think, like, for Echo Fox from Spring, like, Rush was particularly, like, the big ticket guy who was clearly underperforming. They benched him.
Sure.
Whatever, he got his mind right, or the team just realized they needed him. Whatever happened during that time he was benched, he came back and they played well and made playoffs. Like, this is not like our big name import impact or someday, or Bang isn't playing well, bench him for a little bit and give him time to get his mind right. Like, the entire team just.
It's hard to isolate problems. You can't just change one player and make this better.
And I was talking about this in one of our story meetings for LCS. I was like, when I watch 100 Thieves, I don't want to talk about their plays. Like, I'm talking about like that someday. Bang Sivir play, like, was that mechanically correct? It's just, you get a feeling rather than like it's like you feel it here when you watch this team than like here. When I watch a lot of teams, I get like this feeling in my brain, like, oh, that wasn't the right draft, or that play wasn't right. When I watch 100 Thieves, it's all in my gut where I'm just like, oh, they're losing again. You know, like, it's such a visceral feeling instead of like, I don't know, cerebral or something.
They have cool merch.
I will say though, just one thing I do have to say. Every now and then I have to just be an arsehole and just crawl a little bit. I will just say it. Even though, yes, he's playing in NA and he has to communicate in English, etc., where's that fucking amazing Bang that you guys would have all had, like, first ballot Hall of Fame, like fucking top 10 player of all time, godlike carry, blah, 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 blah. This guy wasn't even carrying the lane in Korea, motherfuckers. Like, what made you think he was going to come to NA? Like, you know what? A lot of people like to talk shit on my boy Doublelift, especially before he made the MSI final. Tell you what, you throw Doublelift into fucking Korea and a team he can't even communicate with, he would still at least carry some lanes. He still at least do that. You got to give him that. Like, the whole point of Bang is he actually do think he is still a good player, but he should not be a fucking primary threat on a team. That is the mistake. So the idea you can have him and an academy mid laner from NA, I don't think so somehow.
One thing that
I can't see how that turns around.
One thing that really, really resonated with me was like that Piglet comment from about a year ago or half a year ago, where he said people in Korea don't lane properly. They don't lane aggressive. Like, I don't know what the hell he's doing. Like, Piglet made that comment, I think it was like, I want to say 6 months ago, or maybe it's like 7 or 8 months ago. It was before Worlds, but like that comment still resonates a lot whenever I think of like Teddy getting smashed in lane or Bang not doing well in lane. Like, the best Korean ADs that we traditionally had and really heralded don't really lane well.
I think another way to put it is, like, if you put Bang in clutch, right? Like, maybe that's a situation where he looks good, where like Hooney's going crazy in the early game, then he can just be the Ezreal Varus player that Cody's being, and maybe he's a better Cody. But like, 100 Thieves is the team that needs a Piglet. They need some spark in the early game, because someday is not it.
No, I agree. That would even be a good swap for both sets of players. Not a bad GM move, that, actually. Don't think anyone would take it on either side.
I don't know how the financials work.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I don't feel like that's a realistic move. Just one of those ones with spitball in the barbershop, isn't it? But
yeah,
still not bad. At this point in time, it's about the best 100 Thieves could get for consulting, listening to what people were saying in the barbershop. They were like, yeah, fuck it, try that. Tried everything else, didn't we? Right, what about this then? Let's talk about... See, the weird thing is at the moment, because of the schedule, a whole bunch of teams that probably are going to be good are near the bottom. So, for example, FlyQuest's 1 and 3.
Ooh, I actually have strong feelings about FlyQuest. I think FlyQuest is not one of the teams that should have started slow. Like, FlyQuest and TSM, these are two teams I expected to be strong from the get-go. These are teams that shouldn't really have synergy problems, shouldn't really have identity problems, but FlyQuest did have those problems. I'm actually really shocked. Like, what is going on with this team? Like, where the hell is what?
I will say they have played like Golden Guardians, Cloud9, TSM. Like, that is a hard initial start. And also, to be fair, I didn't think in all those games they were getting smashed. Like, they had times in those games that they were in them, but it is underwhelming. I agree. I would have hoped this would be the team that hit the ground running.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead, Mark.
it's all playoff teams aside for Optic, but Optic's is obviously
Optic's
resurgent.
also won every game, sure.
Yeah, but the thing that seems weird to me was like what happened in the offseason with Wadid, because like it felt like they brought him in to hopefully be an upgrade for JJ, and then like he's been playing in academy and looks
that's strange.
mediocre. So like I don't know what happened behind the scenes where like maybe the team had like a small implosion in the offseason where
You think what they did was that they actually really had upgraded him, and then maybe it didn't work in the scrims, and now they've just like last second before LCS had to like revert back to the old land. That would make more sense, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably what happened, where they're like, we'll get Wadid, we need an upgrade to really push for Worlds. We like most of our carry players, and Santorin's a top 3 jungler, so let's try the support position. Oh shit, it's not better, and now like JJ is in a worse mental state, and like you were practicing with the wrong guy for a long period of time. Like, I don't know exactly if that's what happened, but I would buy that if that was the story that came out. Like,
I think it sounds plausible.
Why else would
you buy him?
Yeah, why would you get Wadid if you weren't trying to put him in?
Wadid is still the weirdest pickup for me, because JJ, I would say, was like 5, or maybe if you really like JJ, you could put in 4th best support last split, and you picked up Wadid, an import like that was struggling in LEC. Like, it really doesn't make sense. Like, who are you gonna keep?
I don't know who's putting Jay fucking 4th best support last split, but I'll leave that as one of those Locodoco moments. Like, why would he be the 4th? He was the worst player on the team.
There were people rating JJ pretty highly. There were people.
Who was that? Did Frostgorin secretly do a fucking LCS poll that back then as well? Fucking.
All right, Core JJ, Smoothie, Zazel.
Keep going.
All right, and then I would probably go Biofrost, and then you're probably getting into like Ole territory. I would put Hakuho probably over him.
Hakuho for sure, yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
So why I remember JJ being like rated highly by other people was in the all pro team list. Some people had him as 3rd. Some people had JJ as 3rd, and I was like, whoa, people have JJ as 3rd, people think highly of JJ. He does have good moments, but he also has ass moments. Like, whenever I think of his Ornn, like, solo killing TSM bot lane with Turtle, and then there's times where he just gets randomly caught out. He's a support with, like, a lot of up and downs.
Yeah,
I'm not hating, I just thought he was the worst player on the team.
Yeah, I think he's an LCS player. I think he should be on a team. There's probably not 10 supports in NA better than him, but I could see, like, that's where you think your upgrade's going to come from.
What's you guys' feeling on Wadid though? Like, he was in LEC and then he got dropped down to like Super Liga. Like,
he was in Turkey or something after that one. I always thought, oh no, you're right actually. Yeah,
Polish league, the Polish league.
Wait a minute.
He was on Rogue and then he got bumped down to the Polish league. That's
right. Yes, when they brought Vander up, you're right. Yes, yeah, you're right actually on that one. I never thought he was that good a player anyway, mate.
It was like, I thought him and Hjarnan, best in the West, baby, from Rift Rivals. No, I think he has like a champ pool that works. So like that's how I felt about JJ too. Like, you put JJ on like tanky meatballs, you do the same thing with Wadid, but Wadid's kind of better. Like, I think Wadid's Alistar's fine. I like his Tahm Kench a lot. Like,
so he's Ole Junior.
He's Ole Junior, and he's hopefully JJ Senior. Like, I feel like they're relatively similar. So you're just hoping it's an upgrade, but apparently it's not. I don't know.
Also, it doesn't help Loco if you're a team fighting team who never gets to team fight, because as I said, people are roaming around the map at 16 minutes with 3-man fucking gank squads.
Well, they're the team also that has like changed the most from spring. It feels like I think we talked about TSM changing a lot. I would put FlyQuest in that same category, where I'm like, what happened to your drafts? Where like they picked this like Elise, Lux, Caitlyn. That was their game, right? Caitlyn.
Yeah, they won that. They won that game. That was the one versus TSM.
Yeah, it was the Riven where they should have lost, but then they won because Riven popped off and TSM through. But then they also had this game with Pyke where they literally didn't
NA Pyke. NA Pyke.
Yeah, they started the NA Pyke meme because it's like, what the fuck are you doing with that pick? So like, they had this identity where like Santorin is a great jungler. You give him these kind of like scaling semi-carry picks like Nocturne and stuff, and then they play like team fight. And that's not at all what they've drafted or tried to do. So I don't really know if they're actually worse. They're like what Thorn was saying earlier. They're trying to branch out and learn more styles, and like they're trying to get scrappier because that's what they think the meta is. Pobelter hasn't looked great. Like he got slammed in that Optic game on Jace. Like it feels like a lot of things went wrong where like they tried to like find a new identity for their team and find an upgrade, and none of it's panning out.
Yeah, FlyQuest, I would have even said they get kicked out of playoffs, but because of Echo Fox bombing so badly, and I also don't know what the fuck is going on with Echo Fox, I think they'll be fine for playoffs hopefully.
Oh, I wouldn't like sound the panic alarm. I mean, definitely that record's not good. But then again, as we said, they played literally 3 of the best teams in the league. Now, to be fair, I will say you can't take that for granted. Like, it's not like, oh, it's okay to lose to them. Now you have to beat all the other teams to make the record reasonable. So that's still tough. Like, mentally, that's something. But I would also expect them to win a whole bunch of those games.
Yeah, I think there's a very real world where in the next 2 weeks, FlyQuest comes out okay. I mean, it's still not the easiest schedule because they have to play TL. But other than that, it's a bunch of non-playoff teams. So, like, they should hopefully stabilize around, like, 4-4 or something. But that's assuming that they actually haven't become bad.
Like, I feel like the 2 teams who I think are in the most trouble in terms of like what they probably hoped this split would represent is probably Golden Guardians and FlyQuest. And that's because when you look at some of the other teams, mate, you can definitely lose to Optic and Clutch Gaming, of course. Like, it's already happened to GGS. Like, these teams are way more likely to take games off you. So basically right now, aside from 100 Thieves, dude, there isn't even a guaranteed win in the league for some of these teams. Like, you should on paper win if you're those teams, but as we said, like, super draft dependent for GGS, FlyQuest, some of their players just haven't performed very well. Like, this is going to be really tough for those, like, you know, like mid playoff spots, in my opinion. Like, it's going to be like a bloodbath as the league goes on.
Yeah.
It's definitely not that division that there was like in the last split where some of the teams just were perma bottom feeders, you know.
That feels like summer though. That's a very summer split thing to happen.
It's usually what happens. Yeah, people grow into the team, you know, and they've played the other teams, and you know what things to do and what to stop. Let's talk about CLG then, because obviously they were a team where, on the one hand, you had Jack using them to meme on Team Liquid by saying, "Ha, the IG lost to this," which, I mean, the obvious answer that actually Steve had was a pretty good comeback is, yeah, so did you. Like, yeah, you didn't think I went through, Jack. Here's the thing. I'll give you a tip here, Jack, right? There's plenty of things I don't actually tweet. And here's the reason why. Because since I'm good at banter, I try to like banter my own comment before I press send on the tweet. And if there's too many like easy ones, like for example, I would never make a joke, for example, about like someone's hair color or something. There's so many obvious fucking clapbacks that can happen on that. His problem there was he had a good first line, but he didn't think through what the second line was. So basically, hire me for like banter consultant, and I'll be like, "But Jack, they lost to you." He's like, "Good, thanks for saving me from putting that one out there."
You don't like giving someone the layup though sometimes, where you're like, all right, I'll throw myself under the bus.
Sure.
It's a great. You give them the layup. You're like,
no. Here's the thing. On shows, actually, that can be good. Like I've made this point before. Like if someone else gets the win over you, it does make the show better sometimes. So I agree. Sometimes you should do it, but like on tweets though, you don't want to be the one where it's like you're the one who gets roasted on the tweet. Like that is not a good thing.
The reply has more likes. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. And then every single comment's like, oof, big yikes, or whatever. Like, yeah, no one wants to be on the end of that. No one wants that. That's a bad state of affairs. That's like walking out the playground crying, like, I don't even care what all the other kids say about me. It's like, yeah, you do, Roy. You clearly do. So come on, CLG.
Speaking of
Loco, remember, Loco, you were massive on CLG going into the spring split. Your boy Wiggly, Weldon was going to turn shit around. Well, there's no Darshan anymore. No more excuses, baby. They have to actually win or lose off this team now.
I do think they've been way better without Darshan. I love Darshan. I really, really, truly love Darshan. He is my president. He's
still alive. He's a person.
LCS
like, I'm sure he's a great guy. But just get the fuck out of League of Legends. There you go. Problem solved.
But CLG is...
No, he plays for Academy, actually, for GGS now, whatever.
But CLG is so much fucking better without him. Just straight up, CLG is better without Darshan. I don't know why, but Bio, 6A, and Wiggly, they all look better without Darshan. Like, they just look better in summer. It might be coincidence. It might be, like, I don't know, like, Darshan had a negative effect on the team. I can't even imagine that, dude. Darshan having a negative effect on the team. But it feels like it was that, and now Bio, 6A, Wiggly can play better. And especially for Wiggly. I think for Bio and 6A, it's that they found kind of their comfort champs and Caitlyn and Lux. But for Wiggly, straight up, he just looks so much fucking better. He looks more confident. He can make his own plays.
I think Wiggly looks a lot better. I think it's one of those things. Back in the day, we were looking at potentially grabbing Shifter, and that was when the Coast days were going on, and Darshan was on that team. And he's a very vocal player, and so if he is throwing out a lot of calls and they're not good, then like if someone like Biofrost, who when he took on shot calling looked a lot better. Like he had a notable turnaround when he had more agency. Like maybe that's what's happening. Back in his academy days, Wiggly was the vocal leader of his academy team. He would tell everyone what the fuck he wanted to do, and that's why he looked so good in the academy. If you go into the main roster and suddenly there's this like weird dynamic where Darshan's talking a lot and like I'm sure PoE wants things. Like
Mm-hmm.
getting some more cooks out of the kitchen could probably help, and like Ruin probably doesn't say shit.
Oh, ditto on that actually. Wiggly talked about finding a voice while having so much veterans on the team, and that was really difficult for him. So you were actually 100% on the, like, you hit the nail on the head. Like, that is something Wiggly actually voiced. Like, it was hard to find my own voice with so many veterans on the team.
The thing that scares me for CLG though is like what this team's identity is supposed to become. I want them to draft every time kind of like that Team Liquid game where like PoE gets his counter pick hyperscaling champion. I don't care if it's Caston or Victor or like whatever it is, just he's on. I love him on hyperscaling. Anything else is like mediocre. He's a great late game threat. Get strong side lanes to make up for the fact that you're probably at a deficit in the mid lane, and then like let Wiggly do whatever he wants in the early game to like get you there. That's what they did versus Team Liquid. It looked great. I hope they keep doing that, but they've also had some drafts where I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like the one the day before where they could have grabbed Zaya Rakan or Aurelia Sejuani, and they grabbed Aurelia Zaya, and then they lost the both parts of the combo. Like those are supposed to be combo pieces.
Optic, yeah.
Yeah, and then they just didn't get a good draft because of that. So like I think their drafting is still very hit or miss. I think there's a good chance they can figure it out and like find a team style that works for them. But that was the problem in spring, was like they were so all over the place with their drafting. Like someone just needs to sit them down and be like, this is our identity. You know, the same way Dokla, it's like, stop playing Yorick, you're on Poppy duty. Like, you know, I feel like CLG needs that kind of talk where they just agree that this is their play style. Because I liked what I saw against TL, but I'm terrified that like against Echo Fox, you're like, and now we're playing carries top, and you're like, no.
Pyre Beeble really found his footing. Like, he found his footing, and he can play all the OPs. And he actually played Irelia. His Irelia was decent. I know, like, he died in the Optic game. He got the solo kill, and then he miscalculated the level 6. And the Silas got level 6 before him, and he was able to kill Pyre Beeble even after the first blood. But he can play Irelia. He can play all these OP laners. And on top of that, he plays mages really well. I always viewed Pyre Beeble and Froggen very similarly, like these late game team fighting monsters that you can build your team around. And he didn't seem anything like that last split, and it's really good to see him find that footing again and be that player, because it's just more exciting when there's better players and more good teams on the league.
I don't know if that's true. Like, I'm amazed that you would say that. Like, I haven't seen him play most of the OP shit. Like, where's his fucking Akali? Where does he play Jace? Where does he play any of this shit? J-Trox, nothing.
Akali Jace dropped down, so I think the 4 OPs that you need to play are Ryze, Aatrox, Irelia, I'm missing one. Silas. Ryze, Irelia, Aatrox, Silas.
When's the last time you saw him play Silas?
It's just always banned, that's why. But in my interview, he said he can play it, and he's shown he can play Irelia, so I trust that he can do it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. This is one of those scenarios where he doesn't ever actually need to Loco. Because like the champions he wants to play, like Mark just said, there aren't even the contested ones. Like he's gonna get the picks that he wants. If he wants to play Orianna, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be available most games. If he wants to play Victor, they're gonna let him pick it. If he wants to play, I don't know if you could still even play Syndra mid, but if you can, he could obviously get that anytime he wants.
I love that.
I think that's the benefit of PoE. Is kind of like Froggen in that sense.
Yeah. Because
they also have their own picks. Like, for anyone who doesn't know, you can't find I'm not sure what the LPL was or whatever, but I don't think a single region has played Anivia this split, and Froggen's played it twice already. So the point is, it's counterintuitive, but to them, they prefer those champions over whatever the OP stuff is. Like, I have no doubt PoE would pick Orianna rather than Silas, even if it's up.
I love that they do that, and they, like, take the Aatrox pick, they give it to top lane, and then he's like, I'll play Victor into Silas, like, I'll take the losing
It's actually an underrated. This is an area where I don't even blame people. It's hard to think of this when you're in the game, because when you watch the game, you act as though everyone picked the champion they wanted, don't you? You act as though like, oh, he obviously thinks he can do this. But the edge actually that PoE and Froggen give you is because they're not even picking meta stuff necessarily. They are just giving you free bans and free picks elsewhere.
Yeah, they get shafted and they can still do their job really well. It is such a unique and such a good aspect to have on your team.
I think for the teams they're on as well, it makes even more sense. Like, the difference is if one of those players played for Cloud9, he probably should pick the power pick there. We can win the whole fucking game off it. But on the teams they're on, the bad teams they're on, it's not like them playing one of those champs who would really take it off the board and win you the whole game. Like, the draft won't affect that way, I don't think.
Well, I think it's also like play style. Like I like when teams are like TSM, where you have 2 great solo laners who you should hypothetically be able to flex those strong, aggressive solo picks between. And like, that's just not really what Froggen and PoE are good at. They can do it, but it's like, I'd rather your team build to your strengths. Like you can
Sure.
play Ori, Victor, Kassadin, Syndra. Like find good matchups for those. Ban like okay, Aurelia shits on those. Okay, ban Aurelia, but you can play it into some of these other things. Like okay, if you can play Victor into Sylas, do that, and then pick strong solo lanes or something. You know, like I like that identity for them because I don't think that they can play exactly the meta. So find your way of doing the best of it. Like I said, my only concern is with all these teams doing that right now is like how sustainable is. What happens when Poppy gets banned and Tom Kench and Rumble and eventually PoE's stuff? Like, be ready for those bans and have like the second step prepared. But like, yeah, I would prefer that for CLG than them trying to play Aurelia Sejuani mid, which I'm not sure that they're going to be able to do.
I would even say, in line with the earlier discussion we had about the GGS bans, that would even be my approach, Mark. Because first of all, there's no point trying to ban these sorts of mid laners out. They don't even play like the OP mid laners now. And even more so, if anything, you probably want, I know the problem at the moment is you can flex the top, but you probably want to challenge them to play an OP pick. Pick the one that you think they're the worst at and dare them to play it. And
Yeah,
it makes their team way less likely to win the game.
I think it's pretty important that they do stuff like that because you can like Optic in the Optic CLG game where neither team is like super playing meta. The bans are weird. It's like Sona, Yuumi, Ryze. All those make a little bit of sense because you don't want them playing Sona Taric. You don't want Yumi's just dumb. Ryze is one of the best top laners in the game. Okay, but you're not banning the Aurelia and Sylas, and like it just gets first picked by Optic. It goes mid, great. Like we know Dokla's going on Poppy. Problem was CLG didn't ban Poppy, but like I want to see how those drafts go when teams start disrespecting the meta a little bit more.
Because I can also tell you from knowing Froggen for many, many years, one of the other reasons he also picks these type of champions is actually the team he's been in for the last few years. Because he doesn't think he's in like the best team, he's not just going to go for whatever's like the power pick of the week. Because in his mind, like loads of those champions, like a shit if they get crushed early, like if you get ganked too many times, they're really hard to get all the items. Or like they want stuff, if you notice, both of these players where they can somehow be viable as long as their team doesn't die in the mid to late game. Like they want to be sure they can consistently lane and then you get to that point in the game. Now that is a flaw of being in a bad team, I admit, and you're not going to get out of it by doing that necessarily. But that's just like the sort of day-to-day thinking of how they think of how they're playing the game at the moment. So they're not going to play a silence. Like, that's just unreasonable for them. They don't want to be the guy who goes 0-2 in lane and it's like, well, what do I do for the rest of the game then? Anything? Nope.
Surprisingly enough, we didn't talk about Ruin at all. Like, how do you guys feel about Ruin as a player on CLG?
He looks all right, but the problem is, like, he does look like he's playing with, like, no comms and no headset on or something. Like, he looks like he just does whatever in the lane. Like, to be fair, they have just come out of the period with Darshan, so I'm sure it's going to be, like, a massive transition phase. But I didn't think he was particularly good in the games I saw. He just seemed okay.
I don't have a super strong opinion on him because what we got sold on was he's like this aggro carry player who likes to 1v9. And CLG is not particularly playing around him. So you have this guy who is mechanically probably better than Darshan, probably has a little bit better decision making, but doesn't, like Thorin's saying, seem to be integrated well on the team. So I have a hard time judging him because it's like, well, no one's really playing around him, and this isn't the play style he's best at. So I have a hard time judging him as anything other than he's not holding CLG back necessarily the same way Darshan lost them as many games.
I kind of have the same feeling. I get that he's a carry player and he's been decent, but he hasn't been amazing, and it's hard to have a really strong opinion. But CLG overall as a whole looks better, so I think it's very easy to say, holy shit, Ruin was such an upgrade, and I'm glad my fellow analysts are not falling into that pit hole.
Do you think CLG makes playoffs?
Oof. TSM,
Surely they
TL,
should. Come on.
C9. TSM, TL, C9. Let's throw Optic in there because they're 4-0.
Wait a second. TSM, TL, C9.
Let's say Optic.
I mean, listen, to be fair, we'll get on Optic in a minute, but like they'd obviously have to do pretty fucking bad from here on out to not even have a chance. So maybe they can as well.
Optic.
So you've got two teams left after that.
Golden Guardians.
Golden Guardians. One team left.
Yeah, so it's like CLG,
It could easily be
FlyQuest,
CLG, FlyQuest,
Clutch.
maybe Clutch.
Yeah. So CLG, I would say, are fighting for the 6th spot. I like the first 5 teams we mentioned so much more. And then we have to look. I mean, it's only week 2, but in this trajectory, yeah, I feel like they can. They were close last
I mean, they've already got a win over Team Liquid, so that in theory means on the schedule there's an easier game coming up still compared to whoever they're... So yeah, I already thought last split they were all right as a team. They just had that horrible week where they subbed everyone out, and then obviously because that went terribly, they lost one game too many earlier in the split. They were fine other than that. They were an all right team.
All right. We got 2 teams left, Echofox and Optic. Which one you want to start with, Duncan?
We'll do the Optic one, since obviously they won every single game. But again, just to reiterate, they've played 100 Thieves, Clutch Gaming, CLG, and FlyQuest. So not all the worst teams, but none of the best teams.
Mark, any first impressions?
I love them. Same way you're up on CLG, I'm super high on Optic. I think, this is when you talked about like this addition by subtraction earlier in the stream. I couldn't believe you didn't mention Optic. Dardoch's a great jungler, but he's like a lot more of an explosive jungler, and so they've just like focused on stability and like giving Crown the ability to like 1v9 these games. Like, yeah, play TF, this weird piece of shit champ, but you're gonna go split push and make teams who are struggling make tough decisions. Great, that's what we're gonna do. And Dokla is not gonna get a carry champ. He's off carry duty. Like, they've basically just super simplified what they're trying to do. They've just committed to Meteos, and it's great. And I love it, because that's like what I think. They never played around top. There was a game where they had 0% jungle proximity in a Yorick. And it's like, you can't not go to Yorick's lane if you're gonna pick him. It was like Yorick into Jace too. It wasn't even like the easiest matchup. So like, if you're not gonna help Dokla, that's fine. You want to camp Crown and Arrow a little bit more because they're the better carries. Totally get it, but like, just draft accordingly. And now that they're kind of doing that, I think they look a lot better.
They're mid-game.
In line with what we said about fucking GGS and the others with their mid lane, like, again, if you can just play Twisted Fate whenever you want and win, you are a fucking stud. I don't care who you are. Like, that Crown is a fucking sick player again. I don't know what he's done to his game, what happened in the time when he left Gen G and came to America, but he has been money ever since he got to the LCS. I actually feel a bit bad for him, because sadly, at first it made sense that he was on Optic, because it was like, who the fuck else would
The
want
shitter team, yeah.
This guy could be so good if he was on so many other teams now.
I think Peter Dunn from Slice said it, but he's the best washed up player we've ever seen. Like, everyone like marked him off.
He's
as, like,
outrageously good. Yeah, it is mental how good he is, especially because it looks like he just plays on his own.
I was 100% in that camp. I was like, I don't understand what the point of bringing him over is, and everyone's like, Korean Poe Belter, Korean Poe Belter. Well, like, what you need to realize is Poe Belter slams NA every time he's here. So you bring in like a better version of Poe Belter, Korean Poe Belter, and like, guess what? He's slamming NA. So I think is one of those things where we were making like comparison that was supposed to be derogatory, but it's actually a really good comparison in a favorable light, where like both of them are actually regionally always really good.
Also, in line with what I said earlier about the angle of like why I think personally PoE and Froggen will always play those champions that they prefer anyway, because they also think it happens to line up with their team. To be fair to Crown, it actually doesn't even make sense in his team, some of the champion picks that he plays. Like, he just plays wherever the fuck he wants, including all the OPs, if you look last season. Played anything he wants. But that guy... Basically, if you ever wanted to give an advert that like, no, it's not even my team, I'm just really fucking good at League of Legends. He's literally like doing everything right now. Like, he just has some of the most ballsy picks, plays super aggro, goes for every play you can pretty much. Like, he does loads of mechanical outplays if you watch these games. It's really fun to watch, actually. As long as you don't, like, I realize Optic has won these games. Going forwards, as long as you watch with a realistic expectation, don't expect him to actually be able to convert on his kills and win all the games like they did now. It's fun to watch just to watch one-on-one. Like, I tell you what, if I was someone who wanted to use that pro view thing, fucking watching Crown would be one for sure.
Yeah, he's sick to watch, and I think, like, I agree about like how sustainable this is. A lot of their wins are like 35-minute weird split push, base racy type stuff where you're like, that's not the best look, but you're talking about making playoffs and beating these not great teams. Like, that's fine to get there. And Meteos is like unheralded one of the best LCS players of all time. Like, we did a little segment on him. He's actually 4th highest win rate all time in LCS regular season. And the 2 of the people above him only have like 20 games. It's like Blabber and someone else random, I can't remember. It's like, if you take out people with like less than 30 games, it's Svenskar and then Meteos.
Not Bjergsen double?
I would guess Licorice or someone maybe, because he must have a pretty high win rate.
Wait, how does he have a higher win rate than Bjergsen and double?
I don't know. It's just what it is. They've had worse regular seasons than Meteos, despite Meteos playing on P1, 100 Thieves. Like, he actually just always has really good regular seasons. So he's basically 2nd all-time win rate. And he does that on more teams than anyone else on the list. Sven's been on 2. Jerkson's been on 1. Doublelift's now on 3, so it's pretty respectable. But like,
to be
Sneaky's
fair,
on
it does make sense, Loco, because first of all, remember his first splits were where he was literally getting like, remember they were winning like fucking 89%,
25 and 3.
Double
exactly.
was on garbage teams before, but Bjerg was never on garbage teams before.
Yeah, but they finished like 4th in the regular season. Like,
yeah, you're forgetting, Loco. I did a video on this. There's been a bunch of splits where TSM didn't have that good of regular season splits. Just in the playoffs, they were always money.
Okay. Wow.
So that does make sense to some degree, especially because what you might forget as well is, for example, when Meteos played on P1, well, the games they were winning were basically the ones where he was coming in. Like that, it's not like he played all the other games when they went bad after that, did it? He was off the team. He was like only temporarily on. And then 100 Thieves, he was only there for the spring split when they were really good. And then the first week or something of the second split, like logically, he has actually dodged most of the bad periods.
Yeah, I mean, even on Optic last split, he was splitting time with Dardoch. So even though his win rate,
and he won most of the games for sure. I think Dardoch lost most of them, from what I remember.
Yeah, I'm sure he didn't win all of them, but if he was like 4-3, that's still a good win rate. So yeah, it's crazy when you think about like, okay, you have a fantastic mid laner, a fantastic jungler, AD carry who at his peak was really good, and then role players in Dokla and Big who, if they perform their role well, it's like maybe this team actually is like 4th, 5th material.
I think they actually have two of the best performing members in LCS right now in Crown and Meteos. I think Crown is by far the best mid at the moment. Meteos, there's an argument with Spence Garen, but he's either 1 or 2. So your mid and jungle being good means so fucking much. Like, and I cannot speak enough about Crown. Like, I actually hated him picking TF because you're picking TF in like teamfight comps. Like, why the fuck are you picking TF?
Yeah. TF plus Poppy is dumb.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's bad. But there's like really creative stuff he does that makes him so good. So he's like mid lane on TF, and he'll pretend he's going bot lane while the jungler and the support will roam mid, and then he'll ult and gank his own lane. And then so the mid laner is like, holy shit, I gotta push up. This guy fucking roaming bottom. So the mid laner walks up, and then he gets ganked by the jungler support and the mid lane. He's like, boom, mind blown. And there was a time where I forgot who it was. It must be versus CG, because it was versus a Lee Sin, where Lee Sin went for the insect and he Zhonya's right after Lee Sin flash. Oh my god, there's just so much highlight moments on Crown. Like, this guy is playing out of his mind. He's not the best mid laner in the league, but he is the best performing mid laner in the league right now.
That's pretty fair. I do agree though, like, here's the difference as well, right? When we were talking earlier, like, yeah, there is no point wasting a ban on Anivia. There's no point banning out anything Power of Evil players. The idea that you've given 3 games of Poppy to Dokla, who was one of the worst tops in the entire league, probably the worst, is kind of crazy. Because I agree on that one. Like, that's one where 100%, you want him to pick anything except that.
Yeah, I think people have this idea of bans going towards like the strongest picks, but it's like you can also ban players. Like that game when Amazing got triple banned after he said there's only 3 junglers worth knowing. It was amazing, right?
Yeah.
Or was that? Yeah.
He played
yeah. Like, that's exactly what you're doing with Dokla. It's like you're playing one champion. Like, I don't need to ban 5, 4 flexes, whatever. Let 2 through. We'll grab 1. You grab 1, and fucking ban. Make him play Aatrox. I don't care. I don't want to.
Think of it this way, Mark. On his team, if he can't play those aren't flexes anyway. You also want them to try and flex. Like, if they think they picked something first, then they're like, all right, Dokla, can you play this so we can do that? If he says yes, he's signed his own death warrant, and so we want them to flex.
Wait, the weird thing about banning Dokla is like the champions that he's playing, like Poppy, they aren't very meta, and I also think they have very easy replacement. Like, he could play something. I don't think it's crazy he plays a Maokai. If he's willing to play a Poppy, then he could just as well play a Maokai. His role on the team is be a tank, be a sponge, don't get any ganks, and be useful in team fights. That's the role he's playing.
Right, Dokla on Rammus. Next pick. Right, there we go. We've designed the whole con.
I mean, the thing is, like, you're not wrong, but like, still make them do that. Like, don't just keep giving him the same thing that they're winning on, and especially like, like the Rise band, some of this stuff. I'm like, maybe Crown plays it, but like, I don't know.
He did play it a lot last split. He was a great Rise.
Yeah. But like the CLG game where they banned Aatrox Akali versus them, like, anybody that plays Poppy, they pick Silas first. Like, what was the point of banning those other 2 champs? They're gonna pick one for Crown, and then he's getting Poppy.
Yeah, I think that's actually such an interesting way to tackle their draft. Get them 2 OP solo laners, and they won't be able to play the second one because of Dokla.
That's why I say you actually want them to flex. Like, it's one thing if they take one of them, because obviously they can just give it a crown because he can play anything. That's like the counter at the moment that they have. But you're right. If you dare them to take two of the strongest but only solo lane champions, one of them surely goes downhill.
And CLG kind of did it where they took Aurelia, but like then they didn't take Sejuani with it. So I don't know. It was weird. Like, but I think you can abuse them that way where like you're not going to pick both of these. Leave almost all of them up. Take your pick. I don't care. I'll ban Poppy. I'll ban Tom Kench or whatever. I think Big's playing better at. Like, make the weak players fail rather than trying to like limit the strong players.
Also,
right, here's the interesting.
One last topic about Optic. Something that's like legit about them is they play macro properly. They know how to set up for objectives. They know how to play side lanes. They know how to do vision. It's not a team that's like randomly picking up wins. Like, their mid game macro is actually clean and very well done. Like, props to coaching staff, props to players, like whoever the fuck is calling it. Like, this team is playing well. When we think of like teams like Optic winning, it's very easy to think of it as they're cheating wins. Like, they're cheesing out wins, but they're actually playing their mid game really well.
So 100 Thieves had this great macro style in Spring Split where they were really slow and they kind of 1-3-1 people and bled them to death. And C9 had that really good macro too for a while. You know, we know High was the main part of it, but there were other players on that team. And Afro was the main part of 100 Thieves, but there's other players on that team. And now Optic has good macro.
No, Mark, I can see where you're heading here, but the problem is, I can assure you, I remember talking to this cat called Locodoco, who told me he was a two-time LCS champion coach, and he explicitly told me, why the fuck would TSM want Meteos? Because Meteos, like,
TSM Meteos would never work out. TSM Meteos would never work out. I will still stand by that.
I was in that camp too,
homie, right now, no one works for TSM. That's why they're literally trying two junglers at the same time in the pivotal summer.
No one worked for TSM, so by not having anyone work, they went to Spring Finals. They have working junglers, Doran. They went to Spring Finals with one of them.
Are they better than Meteos?
What? For TSM, yes. For TSM, yes. Isolated,
you can't know that, you idiot. You've never seen them play. Like, you're guessing. That's speculation.
Yes, it's speculation, but I'm speculating they won't make Spring Finals with Meteos, where they made it with Acadian. That's the bar that Meteos has to pass. He either has to make Spring Finals or
great speculation on something that can't ever actually be fucking run, you moron. Why are you speculating on that one? It's a fact. They cannot make the Spring Finals with Meteos. He cannot go, unless he has a DeLorean and he can hit 88 miles an hour.
We can as analysts, we can think about it with.
All right, go on then. Why, as an analyst, didn't you predict Meteos to be super sick on Optic?
No, Duncan.
Go on, then, analyst. Go on, speculate for me. Go on.
Answer this question.
Right, cosplay an analyst for a moment and tell me.
Do you think TSM would have made Spring Finals with Meteos last split? Do you think they would have made Spring Finals?
Probably would have won.
Fuck you. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself, dumbass. Oh my god.
No. But here's the point I'm making. The point I'm making is you did underrate Meteos. Come on.
I did underrate Meteos, yes. Go ahead, Mark.
I underrate Meteos, but we're not being fair to Meteos. I kind of been sucking his dick this whole time, but he has flaws too. Like,
of course.
He is not easy to get along with. Like, he's done this great job of painting his like personality problems as like, oh, I just disagree on the game with people really hard. Like,
no, he clearly has like an insubordinate nature. Like, if you just look at the teams that have removed him, by the way, they've removed him in the context that he is probably the greatest jungler North America has ever produced. It's basically only between him and Xmithy, right? Yeah. Xmithy's already on the best team. So I agree. There's a good reason he isn't on Cloud9 now, TSM now. That's true. But people took that. Like, I guess basically the best way to describe it is this. People took that out of the game problem he has, and they made it sound like in-game he wasn't very good. Whereas actually, to be fair, I don't think you could say... I personally don't think Meteos has ever been actually like legit bad. He had maybe that bit at the end of Cloud9 where he was a little bit of a meme. But even then, like, he's had so many times on so many different teams now that like it is kind of wild that he almost didn't have a team at all. Because remember, before Optic, he was just not going to be in LCS.
Yeah, and part of that was him too, being like, I want to play in a team like old C9. We were all buds and whatnot. So like, I agree. Like, TSM's culture is very like, you know, almost militant in like, you know, their structure and their order, and like, I'm not sure he would have fit in with that. But like, the new TSM does look memeier and more fun. Like, Broken Blade's a really funny guy. Acadian's pretty trolled. Bjergsen seems to have lightened up a little bit since like their 2016 days when they were like super grind lords. So maybe he could have worked out. I don't know.
No way, no how. There's like other stuff that I don't want to talk about on the show, but no way, no how, don't even.
This is the, by the way,
even with like the analytic part, no way, no how. You add the realistic part, also no way, no how.
See, the problem with Loco is if he knows like any story about what a player did or didn't do in private, like he just actually applies that in the game of League of Legends.
No,
he's just not actually aware that like all you need to know is this, mate. H2K made top 4 at Worlds while they had to literally make one of the players not live in the same house because like that would just cause everything to burn down. Like you can manage difficult egos, Loco. It is possible. I realize you come from NA, so you all think it's impossible.
No how.
But you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. There's going to be a side rant, but this is for the Prollies of the world, for all the coaches out there, the Jack Etiennes of the world is. You know the way all your kids, your actual kids, are all grown up to be brats because you've just been telling them like, time out, Billy, you have to think about what you did there. And then all they do with that time out is just hate fuck you in their mind. Second I get a chance, I'm going to do drugs, I'm going to fucking fail school. Like, it doesn't work. That approach does not work. Now, here's the thing. I am prohibited by the rules of Twitch and many other places from saying what you maybe could do instead. You will have to guess as to what other parenting methods you could use. But eventually there's got to be some kind of disciplinarian approach, you know. Because this is the thing I don't get. I understand in the early days of LCS why players could act out, like salaries weren't very big, coaches had no power, etc. But sooner or later, some of these owners and some of the staff have to just be able to be an actual adult and be like, that's not acceptable behavior, or listen, you know, we find a clever way to tell them how brilliant they are as a player, but then get them on board behaviorally as well. Because the key thing with someone like Meteos is you don't need him to be a fucking Boy Scout. He doesn't have to be like awesome. He just has to tone it down a little bit. A little bit.
I think with franchising, power shifted way more to teams. Like some of the benchings that we've seen, I don't think ever would have happened in non-franchise era. 100 Thieves would have never let Meteos go in middle of the split in a non-franchising era. So I do think power is shifting to the teams. Now they just have to be good about dealing with personality. Now they do have the power and the ability to bench anyone.
To be fair, that's also the aspect that we've already discussed, which is that is also what's different about franchising. Since there's no relegation, if every GM just decides, fuck this guy, then you're just out of the league. It's like the NFL. There's been players that's happened within the NFL who were legit starters who just had a really, like they did some fucked up shit in real life, or, you know, they were like really bad with how they argued with the management. And some of them literally, like no team will sign you after that. And that's what LCS is going to become now, I think.
It's already happened kind of close with Dardoch and Cody and Meteos.
Sure.
So, like, I think if you burn enough teams, you start risking like the remaining teams just being like, it's not worth it. So like, I'm glad Cody's getting another shot, but like I said, I don't know what happened on 100 Thieves.
Here's my problem though. This is the problem. I want to get your take on this because you two have both obviously been in a bunch of NA teams, right? This is the part that kills me though. Is so many of the NA-born junglers are the opposite. They're just mad pussies. Like half their problem is they join a team and then they all just get like intimidated by the big names, or their mid laner starts telling them like, come mid all the time. So they just do it every time. It's like too many of those. Like I realize it's not like you can only be a pussy or be fucking Dardoch or Meteos. Like that's why I don't get those. Why does it have to be so extreme? Because I think back in the day it was the same shit with Dominate and that. Like you, to some degree, I want my jungler to be like outspoken. I want him to think he knows how to win the game.
Because it's really, really common to have import solo lanes that are veterans with a rookie jungler, just due to people import mid and top. And so the role that NA players get to play a lot in is jungle. So you get a lot of the new junglers like Contracts, Moon, Dardoch, Acadian. So a lot of the newer players go into jungle roles, and a lot of the veteran imports come down in mid and top lane. So it's very easy for those roles to have much bigger voices and the jungle voice to get a lot smaller.
I think it's one of the things where support kind of has to listen to everyone, but realistically, jungle is the only position where you have 3 different people asking you to do like different things, like come top, my wave's freezing, come bot, we're gonna get you know, like there's all this shit that you have to manage, and so like people fall into 2 camps where it's like I'm gonna try to appease everyone, or go fuck yourselves, I'm doing what I think's best, and like you quickly get pushed into one of those 2 camps. It's hard to be in the middle where like I'm gonna appease you sometimes, but you also need to respect me when I tell you to fuck yourself. So like I feel like it's so hard to do that, and like maybe gamers aren't the best at
No, I'd agree, mate. I think that's why you get these extreme personalities. Because, dude, I know that like people like Dominate, they aren't like. Here's the thing: if they're on a good team, there's times where they're just chill guys. They're just fun guys sometimes. The problem is, though, they do have that, like the analogy I would give is it's like someone who's been in prison, right? And you're just coming to the dinner table like, oh, hey, do you want some soda? And then they're like, the fuck you trying to get my food? You're like, no, just sitting down. It's like, they've just been so jaded by a million fucking people just telling them 24/7, like, come to my lady, piece of shit. It's like, at that point, they are just hardened. Like,
yeah, and I think you can win with either. Like, you can win with the Bangy,
Sure.
and you can win with I'm blanking on his name, saying some white jungler, Dandy, right?
Dandy,
like,
yes.
yeah, like either one of those can win you a world championship. It's just like letting them be that person, or like finding the right team for them to be them in. Like, you can win with a
If you want to find the right team, yeah. But the thing is, you need him to have like fucking Poor Belter and like Impact as his solo laners or something, where they're just going to be cool with it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the final team, Echo Fox.
Right. This is an interesting one, and this is why I told you at the beginning of the episode we must always explain the strength of schedule. Because even though Echo Fox is 1-3, look at who they've played. They played Cloud9, Golden Guardians, Team Liquid, and TSM. Literally 4 of the top 5 teams last split. And they won one of those games. They actually did obviously beat Team Liquid. So, like, within context, like, the record alone does not tell the whole story there. So what do you think, Mark? Is Echo Fox a good team this split?
I don't know, dude. Like, I think the moves that they made, to me, don't even feel like they're about this split. I feel like the org is probably like meh about 6th place, and like, yeah, they were on an uptick in spring, and maybe if they push and grind really hard, they climb all the way to 5th. But I don't think that that's like necessarily what they have in mind. So I think that this looks kind of like a downgrade on paper to me. Like, Apollo and Phoenix are not doing well in the academy, but I would chalk that up probably to being demotivated about getting benched or something, and not having like their mentality in the right place. Yusui hasn't looked great. He's a bit of a choker. Honestly, I've been following him for a long time, and I love him.
Isn't he the guy where? And here's the thing, Mark. Everyone tries to bill it like, oh, he was supposed to replace. He was supposed to be instead of Jensen on Cloud9. They hype it like he was some like player who could have been amazing. The problem is, whenever I hear that, and I know that really means a bunch of teams passed on you, it's the opposite. You never was. Like, you didn't live up that potential, basically.
Yeah, and he was great in the academy last spring. And he's had moments where he looked great, but like, it's never translated. And so, like, once again, right now he's struggling. But like, the way I see it, if I was Echo Fox and looked at these moves, is like, you're looking at 2020. You're like, okay, is Loss worth an import slot? Is Yusui a worthwhile mid laner that we can hold on to? Solo's probably a good enough top laner that we can hold on to. Maybe we won't hang on to Rush, and we like Haku host. Like, I see this as like beginning to find the building blocks of what you want to keep and what you want to change out. So that's how this entire thing feels to me. Like, I don't see Yusui is better than Phoenix for winning games in the short term, and I feel the same way about Lost after splitting up. Apollo and Hakuho were the longest standing bot lane heading into the split. So like, yeah, I don't see how this makes them better right now, but I can totally see the value in if you're looking down the road, because you're like, who the fuck cares if we're not making worlds and we're getting 5th and 6th again?
Lost seems like a pop-off team fighter kind of AD carry, and those are actually not the type of AD carry you want more lane dominant, versatile AD carry. It's what makes you good as an AD carry really suddenly changed, so I'm not really hot on Lost. And the Phoenix thing, I think I mentioned it in the last episode, it's still so fucking hilarious to me. Cause Echo Fox fucked over Phoenix, they can't run Phoenix and Lost together. If they did not fuck over Phoenix by dropping him in the middle of the split, he actually would have been naturalized by now, and they could have run
they
Phoenix Lost.
themselves.
That is still my favorite Echo Fox narrative, like, of someone shooting themselves in their own foot.
And the thing is, like, I think Lost is okay. He reminds me of like kind of Wild Turtle Light, but like, to your point, I heard in scrims they were crushing when Rush was just camping for Lost or something like that, but it hasn't translated to stage. So like, I don't know. I think he's good, but if his ceiling is Turtle, I'm not quite like, if he becomes as good as Wild Turtle, which I don't think he is yet, I can't see that being worth an import slot. Turtle's good, and he can easily be on a championship team, but like, I wouldn't import that.
So academy rosters are usually like a taste of what we might see in LCS. It doesn't mean the team has to do this or that, but from what I heard, it's gonna be Phoenix Apollo for Echo Fox. Or not Phoenix Apollo. It's gonna be Yasui Lost in academy. So it might mean we see Phoenix Apollo this weekend.
I mean, it's let me check what's what the score. It's a super week in Academy this week, so they've actually already played twice probably.
Oh really?
On
Holy
Wednesday
shit.
and Thursday, yeah. So I can check who they've. Fill for me while I do this.
Duncan, who do you like better? Phoenix, Apollo, or Yasui?
I would have agreed. Like from what I saw of Echo Fox this split, if they could have played the exact same lineup but with Phoenix in mid, I think they would have done better. Like, I think they actually would have looked like a better squad. I don't really know the hype of Yasui because I don't follow any of this shit behind the scenes. So to me, he's just a new player and he's just very below average. Like I haven't seen anything particularly special. He's had a bunch of power picks, so it's not like he was just stuck on MarkZ. This is like 3 years ago or something. I don't really know what the point of breaking that bot lane up was. Like, I personally think Hako was the better member, but I mean, like you say, in this meta, you're not even going to give Lost a chance to do that. Like, he's not going to be in a late game team fight and then just fucking pop off. Like, what year is that? Like, that isn't 2019, I'm afraid. Like, that doesn't happen anymore. Especially, like, I mean, he was playing Sivir in this game against TSM. Like, you're not going to be, that's never going to get to a point where you're going to do anything on that mate. So the flaw in their team is, like, I just don't see how they can actually be that good in an early game team. Like, I still think Rush is having a lot of problems. He's definitely not as bad as when they fucking benched him, which he definitely deserved to be benched. But he's never going to be the player he was. I don't know why. I really thought Rush had his talent level, because I've seen him play quite a lot of solo queue games over the years. His talent level, I thought meant he was going to be like an evergreen player. Like, he really had the talent for it. He just seemed like such a fucking brilliant player. But the guy who came back to the LCS isn't that player for some reason. Who knows why? I can't put my finger on it really.
I think the people who always have like the highest pop off mechanical moments are always the ones that feel like they burn out the fastest. Because like Insec was a guy who was like super nasty and everyone knew he was good, but then like as soon as their passion dies a little bit, they lose what makes them unique. Whereas like just because we're talking about Meteos, for example, is like people like him because he's smart about pathing and that kind of stuff, and he'll go play World of Warcraft, and then he'll join Phoenix One and be a better jungler than their current jungler because he just understands the game at a higher level. So I'm not too surprised that like when Rush took his break and like didn't try hard and was kind of streaming and kind of on a Korean academy team like bench situation, that like he lost the drive to super grind lord and he lost what made him unique, which was his insane mechanical playmaking.
Well,
because he was the guy. I will agree with that as a premise. By the way, anyone whose game basically is like push your mechanics to the limit, that is literally a tightrope style. It either works amazingly, you shit on everyone, or the second it doesn't work, you are probably going to get wrecked in the league. Like there's no second gear. Like, oh, I'll just chill while I'm doing that. It's like, no, you're pushing it to the limit. That's the problem.
It's kind of like basketball players too, like Russell Westbrook. Like, you're so dependent on being like athletically like such a fucking god. When you lose that athleticism, like you drop off so fucking much. When you're more based on shooting, when you're more based on spacing, like good defense, like you can be more of an evergreen player. I think it applies a lot in League 2, just like you guys talked about.
So I looked it up. They did play Lost and Yasui yesterday in Academy, so maybe Phoenix and Apollo were coming back. And if that's the case,
how does that work, by the way? Like, doesn't that mean they have to come back?
No,
I thought you weren't allowed to play Academy and LCS the same week.
They switched it up where they're like, you can play both now.
All right, okay.
Yeah, so if Yasui and Lost are back in Academy and we got Apollo and Phoenix, then I really don't understand what's going on with this team. Because if I was taking it from the perspective of like, oh, this is a 2020 move. And if it's just like we thought they would be better, I can't see how Yasui's going to be better than Phoenix.
So Duncan,
I actually feel bad for both those players, by the way, Apollo and Phoenix. They are both definitely LCS level players, no matter even how critical I am of Phoenix. I'm just critical of Phoenix when people start putting him in top X lists. Definitely is an LCS mid laner. And Apollo, I don't even know what he's supposed to have done wrong. As far as I can tell, he's had a pretty good career. Like he's done his job every time. He plays the game pretty well. Certainly they're not the best players, but like, they're just caught in a bad spot in franchising themselves. Like they should probably be on other teams. Think about how many teams could use those players.
Yeah,
a whole bunch in this league.
100 Thieves obviously would love a player like Apollo, Hakuo.
Of course.
Yeah. Or even Phoenix, for that matter.
That'd be a great addition to their team.
Yeah.
So,
they just need some playmaking on 100 Thieves. Fucking throw Phoenix in there and watch him try and 1v2 every gank.
So
I don't give a shit.
For there's players like Phoenix where his skill level is really good, but there's other baggage that comes with it. So I can see why they would want to bench Phoenix, but like I don't understand Echo Fox's future moves. There is one part about Echo Fox that is such a bright spot and that has been so fucking good. It's Solo. I actually think Solo's been the best performing top laner. I've been going up and down in my head trying to think who'd be better performing top laner right now. Not Impact, maybe Licorice, not Broken Blade, not Dokla, not Viper. I think Solo is 1 or 2.
Yeah, I put Licorice over it, but I think it is still like at least worth the conversation, which is very surprising because I mean like he literally 1v9 that Team Liquid win. Like the one win they have was him getting GP into Vladimir, surviving it. Actually, I think he had a CS lead, and then when they started ganking his lane, he just turned it all around. So then he like negated TL's lead, and then he just started murdering people. So that was such an impressive game. And then he's had some other like good games while the rest of Echo Fox kind of fall apart. So I think it sucks that he hasn't gotten more wins, so it's easier to talk about him, but he has been really impressive.
He looked great in the last playoff match he played against TSM, and then he looks great right now. The only thing I'm afraid for him is kind of his contract length and like him staying on Echo Fox for a long time. I think it's because your career is so short as pro. Like when you're fucking hot, you want to be on a championship team. If Echo Fox doesn't make the right moves and he's on this team next spring, like you can be good all you want, but there's only so much you can do. I would love to see him be on a different team or Echo Fox make mad moves.
The weird thing about him is he has baggage. Like you talk about some of the other players. Yeah, I mean, like,
so I'll speak on this since I actually know him as a player. So when I had him on my team on GCU in the beginning of the year, we got an email from Riot that says Solo is on thin ice. If he fucks up one more fucking time, if he talks in solo queue and he's toxic one more fucking time, he's gonna get a suspension. I think 3 months into the season, we got an email saying Solo has been good. He's not on thin ice anymore. Like basically saying like you're no longer one fuck up away from getting suspended. So his behavior has improved. It's just externally he can be such a fucking asshole, but within the team itself, he's a really great teammate.
So this is where I'm struggling with him because I've heard so many different things. Like every time I interact with him, he's like super funny, super nice. I love Solo personally, and then people talk about him from solo queue and they're like, "Fuck that kid."
Yeah, on solo queue, he's a keyboard warrior. Online, he's a completely different person than he is in person.
Right. So then I thought like, oh, he's probably fine on teams, and I've heard stories like yours before. But then I heard recently, because he's been doing better, I think he's been a little bit more problematic, I heard, but really? I'm not quite sure. Okay. Yeah, it's all like rumors and stuff. So
last time I talked to him in person was Travis's birthday party, so that would be like a week or two ago, and he was like really nice. He was really friendly, but
I love him. Yeah, but.
So, Travis invited you to his birthday party?
Yeah, personally, he invited me, and I got him. I was one of the few people that got him.
You know what
they
present. Say? Keep your enemies close.
And your enemies close. And your friends. Yeah. Keep your friends close and enemies closer. Exactly, yeah. That's probably exactly what both of us were thinking when Travis gave an invite, and then I received the invite. We're like, yes.
Fair enough.
Oh,
just thought that.
Duncan, you didn't speak on Solo at all. What's your thoughts?
I think he's a pretty good player overall. Like he was also good in the spring split as well. I have no idea what he's like as a person because to be fair, he only came on the show when he like had just lost the series but played well in it himself and also probably thought I would flame him. So he was probably on his best behavior on that episode, I would imagine. And obviously he kept it within bounds. I just think on this team, it's not a great time to have your career peak because even though, as we said, they beat Team Liquid, great, well done. I don't think this team should be basically probably the last playoff team. That's probably like the future for them. And as you said, with the players they're swapping in and out, there's not really any way to make the team better for this split. Like I just think it's an extremely average to below average team overall. Like I don't think it's that great a squad.
I was surprised.
I would bet there was a lot of games personally.
You what?
I was surprised when they made playoffs in spring. I didn't think.
And they
I think they actually had to beat Team Liquid at the end to do that, from what I remember.
They needed a 4-0, or they needed a 4-0 to make it, and I think they did that 4-0.
They'd had, from what I remember, I'm sure they were on like a 6-game losing streak or something before they did that. So it was basically like, that's why I think CLG took that gamble and benched those players that week, because they thought, oh, we're going to make it anyway. And of course, famous last words. Whenever there's that mathematical opportunity, if you know anything about life will fuck you so hard if you pretend like, what, 5% chance it happens? Who cares about that? Like, that's definitely happening. That's just the way life goes.
All right.
Appropriately named, though. Solo. Just has to play on his own. That's it.
All right.
He better play a lot of, like, Aatrox. Maybe he should play Nivea. Things that can resurrect. He needs stuff that, like, can't just be killed on their own.
Let's start wrapping up. Any hot takes you guys want to do? Any final topics?
It's the way he said that as though like we've just got stuff stored up. I don't know. Fucking kill Travis Gafford. What hot takes am I supposed to give? Like, all we've already done the whole episode. Like,
I'm doing a hotline league later tonight. So if you guys want me to like relay a message to him, I can give him one. You know,
I'm chill. As much as Duncan means about me and Travis not liking each other, I think we've actually been more chill recently.
So I missed Thorin and Monty when they were. I didn't realize you guys were at the LCS.
We just came last minute. That's why it was just like it wasn't a planned thing.
Did you guys talk with Travis at all, or was that a?
No, but I don't. As far as I know, there's not any issue with that. It's just any time I saw him, he was doing interviews, so I assume he was just too busy.
Oh,
probably also wanted to do that thing, says Travis, where it's like he pretended he didn't see you, and then he wanted you to be the one, and we go like, oh, he tries to go, oh, hey, what are you doing here? So he's showing you about his eye the whole time. He's like, all right, Björkson, move here. So I think it was also one of those going on. And to be fair, I will say as well, we did go home early. Like I think we went home after maybe the first 4 games or something. So we weren't there the whole day. Like, and obviously, if you're an interviewer, it's the end of the day is when you're most likely to be able to catch him. To be fair.
Oh, there is one thing I wanted to talk to you about, Duncan. So there's.
I doubt, by the way, though, that him and Monty are best pals. So if you want to relay something to him, you could maybe relay this to him. Listen, Travis, I've never fucked with you. I've never called you out on any big time shit ever. But you definitely fucked up when you did that thing where you told Monty he could come on Hotline League and talk to that guy. Was it Chopper? Whoever the guy was from Riot you had on. Like, you definitely misplayed your whole hand on that one. Like, that was a fuck up. So just come correct on that one. Just admit you misstepped on it. You shouldn't have ever invited him if you weren't going to let him do it. Because the problem with that one was, I don't think he realizes that came off really condescending as well. Monty was just some wild animal who wouldn't have been able to speak professionally, would have just gone mental. I think he really in his mind, he just did damage control before something happened. He thought it was going to be a big incident or something. I don't think it would have been that bad, dude. I think they would have just minorly sniped at each other a little bit,
Yeah, I think that's part. I was in on that too. Obviously, it's that was partially my fault because I think I was the one who I saw Monty in chat, I think, and I was like, "Let's get him on." I didn't it wasn't planned at all. So then I'm an idiot. So I'm like, "Yeah, let's do this thing," and then Travis was like, "Well, we didn't talk about what that would look like," and so he was like, "Is he a guest? Because when we have guests on, we don't pre-screen them. But is he a caller? We'll still screen them. Even when we have a caller on, we'll usually be like, oh, this is what they're talking about." So it was are we treating him like a guest or a caller? And I think Travis was obviously treating him like a caller, and we were asking what Monty wanted to talk about, and Monty wasn't saying what he wanted to talk about. So then I think Travis was like, all right, well, just fuck that then. So part of that was my fault too for just trying to egg a situation on. I'm kind of done with that.
Speaking of Hotline Leagues and guests, so I don't think if you remember, but long time ago during spring finals, there was a guest on, or there was some guy in person on Hotline League, the live version. He came up and he was like, Thorin, you know how you talked about fans wouldn't be able to stand up to you?
Yeah.
I want to be on ListenLoco and for whatever 10 minutes or something. He's always on my chat asking. So next episode, Duncan, if you're down, I'll bring him on for 10 minutes and stuff. We can debate him about it. We'll do a normal episode and the final 10 minutes. All right.
I mean, whatever topic he wanted to talk about, if he was on in the spring split, is mad out of date. But I'm sure he can think of some new bullshit that he disagrees with us on.
Okay. So I'll bring him on next episode. He's in the chat. He said he can't do next episode, but sometime where the timing works out, I'll bring him on.
Who is this guy? Some fucking guy I don't even know. I've never heard of ever. And your only information so far is this bonehead went on Hotline League and said, I disagree with Thorin. Now he's scheduling the show. We're now scheduling the show to fit him. I don't think so. So here's the thing. If you're available next episode, congrats, you can have 10 minutes. If you're not, well, I'm sorry. You just have to live the rest of your worthless fucking life and go, shit, I could have been on that show one time. And then that'll be the story you tell your grandkids. Just you'll never have offspring, right? That's the end of the episode. And there's the hot take, right? End.
Wait. Duncan, I want Mark, any final thoughts on what time for Hotline League?
Just check. No, Loco. Here's what you do. Are you ready? This is how a segue works. Well, guy who went and won Hotline League and wanted to come on the show. If you were to donate $200 to our Patreon, we would call you and we could even film that for the show. So as soon as the payment is complete, we will gladly oblige you with your reward. And there are, of course, many other rewards for people who aren't just egotists. You can just support the show. You can have your name read out at the end of the show by Locodoco. You could ask a question if you have the right tier. I forget what all the tiers are, but you can go see it. So patreon.com/ListenLoco. By the way, the best one was, Mark, the first episode we mentioned the Patreon. At the end, Locodoco, no joke, said. So that's www.listenloco.com/Patreon. And I even said, holy shit, you got a site set up. And he goes, oh no, wait, I meant patreon.com/ListenLoco. He fucked up the whole URL the first time in the way only he could have got by making it sound like a real website had been created.
That's one thing I'll say Travis has over you, Loco. He knows how to shill really well.
He does.
You gotta step up your shilling.
Yeah.
He nails that.
Anyways,
go ahead, Mark.
Other than that, we're doing a Hotline League at 8, and we have one of the guys working on team fight tactics. So I think they'll be kind of more oriented towards that. So if you're interested, that'll be a good show. If you're more league esports focused, probably not the best episode.
It's I think Riot Maple Nectar. He was like head up game balance and like game design on the live team. So yeah, great guy to interview.
Yeah, he's
so obviously has no clue what the fuck he's doing in his job, right? That's the end of the episode.
All right. So. Thank you so much to our Patreons that supported us. To our gold Patreon, William Hishon and Tobias Bernasconi. Thank you so much for making this show possible, and thank you so much for supporting us. And for those of you guys that recently joined the Patreon, we update our Patreon page every week. So on the next week's episode, you guys will definitely be on here. Thank you guys so much.